community. However, in reality, these elders shouldn't be treated uniformly. This made Chin Mo's earlier thoughts completely overturned. A communal cafeteria? Forget it. How could they eat collective meals? If Chin Mo were to set up a cafeteria, most likely these elderly folks would still prefer to cook at home. As for a bathing facility, that is also a no-go. Even if the elderly from Chin family village came to wash up, it wouldn't be convenient for them to sleep in bed afterward. This isn't like a laundry room. The laundry room is something the elderly can manage. They can wash their clothes and take them home to wear. After thinking it over, the previously invigorated Chin Mo found himself overturning his earlier ideas in an instant. However, a restroom could be feasible. Improving living conditions is still possible. He previously thought an electric water heater wouldn't work, but if they switched to a prefabricated restroom with solar energy, it could ensure that the elderly from Chin family village have convenient access to toilets and washing facilities while also being safer. Chin Mo had considered that solar panels had nowhere to be placed, but with a prefabricated restroom, the solar panels could be installed on the roof directly, ensuring no obstructions. This would be sufficient. Moreover, the prefabricated restroom wouldn't require any renovations. It could be used as soon as it was brought back. They just need to find a spot at home to set it up, and at most, dig a septic tank. With this thought, Chin Mo felt more and more that this idea was feasible. He thought clearly and didn't waste any time, so he simply started searching online. A quick search revealed a dazzling array of prefabricated restrooms. Chin Mo browsed briefly. A prefabricated restroom came fully equipped with everything, including a wash basin and toilet. One would only cost a little over 1,000. A slightly larger one would be around 2,000. Adding installation and other costs, it would be just over 3,000. For a restroom, 3,000 plus 1,000 for a solar water heater, and a few hundred for a septic tank. It would total less than 5,000 to set everything up. This way, they would have hot water and a toilet. How convenient. After some estimation, Chin Mo nodded repeatedly. In no time, he found a seller that seemed pretty good and started communicating with them. After some discussions, Chin Mo placed a bulk order for dozens of units, ensuring that everyone in Chin family village was included. He even arranged one for himself, as his old house also needed a bathroom. Before seeing the finished product, Chin Mo thought he could tolerate using his pit toilet. However, after seeing the completed bathroom, he realized he could no longer endure it. Once everything was negotiated, Chin Mo asked the online store, "When can you ship the order?" The response was that it might take some time because of the large quantity ordered and the insufficient stock. Additionally, the transportation of large items would delay the delivery, which could take about 10 days for installation. The wait for the bathroom was definitely longer than the previous streetlights, but it was only about 10 days. So it wasn't a big deal. Chin Mo had no objections to this. With a few days to wait for the bathroom, Chin Mo found himself a bit idle. He originally planned to be busy, but now that everything he had envisioned had been overturned, it felt like there was nothing to do. However, it didn't take long before he had another idea. He could skip building a canteen and a bathhouse. But he noticed that the elderly in Chin family village had nowhere to relax. When they had nothing to do, the only option was to hang out at the village entrance and chat. Occasionally, a few would go out to tend to their sheep. There was no place for activities. This made Chin Mo suddenly think of establishing a senior activity center to provide some recreational facilities. The elders of Chin family village could chat, drink tea, play cards, chess, or watch movies and television. Wouldn't that be better than anything else? Moreover, other villages already had such facilities. Wouldn't it give the elders a place to go when they were bored? Chin Mo further expanded his thoughts. He also felt that a small supermarket could be beneficial. Chin family village didn't even have a convenience store, which made it inconvenient at times when they lacked daily necessities. If there were a small supermarket, wouldn't that be convenient? Of course, Chin Mo's intention for the small supermarket was not to make money, but mainly to provide convenience for the villagers. He could even offer items for free. However, for the villagers to accept it, they had to be willing. Setting up a small supermarket to benefit the villagers, selling items at cost price, combined with a senior activity center, would be fantastic. Thinking of this, Chin Mo couldn't help but give himself a pat on the back. Chapter 34. Building houses makes Uncle very happy. Chin Mo's plan was well thought out. However, there is one troublesome point. Whether it's the activity center or the small supermarket, they are not as convenient as the laundry room. The laundry room has an available electric charging station, but the activity center and the small shop do not have such facilities. There is no ready-made place, even if we want to find a place to modify it. That's not possible. However, this issue is not significant. If there isn't a ready-made one, we can just build one. We can find a place in the village to construct it without any problem. Of course, if we want to build a house, we need to talk to the village leader first. After all, he knows which land can be used and which cannot. He is well aware and must agree as well. In no time, Chin Mo found the village leader in front of his house. Upon seeing Chin Mo, the village leader couldn't help but smile while holding his clothes. "Little Mo is here. You know, these clothes are really clean. I brought them over just 2 or 3 hours ago, and not only are they washed, but they are also dried. They can be worn directly. This is much better than me scrubbing them for a long time. Hearing the village leader's words, Chinemo couldn't help but smile. See, Uncle Fugua, I told you the laundry room is worth it. It's great, but the money spent is all yours. Upon hearing this, the village leader sighed. Chinemo didn't want to dwell on this topic. In an instant, he quickly explained his purpose to the village leader. Uncle Fugua, I have something to discuss with you. The village leader was momentarily taken aback, but quickly responded, Little Mo, what is it? Chinemo paused for a moment and said, It's like this, Uncle Fugua. Where in our village can we build a house? Upon hearing this, the village leader got excited. You want to build a house? It was clear that he misunderstood. Noticing his excitement, Chinemo realized that the village leader thought he was going to build a house for himself. Initially, Chinemo wanted to deny it and clarify, but then he reconsidered. If he mentioned the activity center, the village leader would likely not agree and might even scold him. But if he stayed silent, would they demolish it once it was built? So, Chinemo smiled and pretended to nod. With that nod, the village leader became even more excited. Chinemo is going to build a house. In the eyes of the village leader, if Chinemo builds a house, there will be buildings in their village. Moreover, although Chinemo has a villa outside, the villagers know that it's good for him to buy a house outside. But what is their village? It's their root. Even though they say buying a house outside is better and worry about the village being empty when they are gone, they still hope that Chinemo has a house in their village. Who wouldn't want to have a house here, even if it's just for the future? So that Chinemo can come back and take a look? A house in the city, what is that? It's just a house, no matter how big it is. For someone from the countryside, the village is what truly feels like home. This is also the real reason why Chin Fugua was so excited when he heard that Chinemo wanted to build a house. In an instant, he eagerly dropped his clothes and exclaimed, We can build anywhere. As long as it's not farmland, Little Mo, you can build wherever you like in our village. If you think my place is good, I'll tear down my house for you. It doesn't matter what your second aunt or third grandfather say. Just tell me where you want to build. You can build a new one and leave the old house for them to live in. Wow, Chin Fugua is really generous. He can build wherever he wants in Chin family village. However, Chinemo knows very well that Chin Fugua is not just talking. If he really likes a certain place, the old folks will definitely shout to tear it down. Chin family village is different from other villages. In other villages, a family's land is just that, belonging to them. But in Chin family village, although no one has explicitly said it, it's basically accepted that everything belongs to Chinemo, whether it's the homestead or anything else. Chinemo remembers that last year, a few of the elders were saying that if they passed away, all their land would be given to Chinemo to farm. He could plant whatever he wanted. Not only that, some people who passed away in Chin family village even left their land to Chinemo. This land hasn't been reallocated in decades. What was given to Chinemo? He could truly farm if he wanted to. It's just that at that time he was working away from home and didn't have time to farm. So he simply let Chin Fugua and the others take care of it. Chin Fugua didn't even charge rent. When he was away, every year during harvest, he would send money to Chinemo. It was a must. This money came from selling the produce. To put it simply, it was as if he was helping Chinemo farm without taking a penny. Seeing Chin Fugua so excited, Chinemo quickly said, No. The third grandfather and the others are living just fine. How could I take their homestead? Hearing this, Chin Fugua hurriedly replied, It's fine. Which piece do you like? After saying this, Chin Fugua hesitated for a moment and continued, Little Mo, are you really going to build a house? Didn't you buy a villa outside? Although he was happy that Chinemo wanted to build in the village, it was clear that he still had some reservations. Hearing this, Chinemo smiled and said, Uncle Fugua, my ID says I'm from Chin family village. I don't plan to change my household registration. What if my house collapses if I don't build? As he said this, Chinemo couldn't help but feel a bit regretful. He shouldn't have casually echoed Chin Fugua's words. By that time, if it turns out that the house being built is not the one he lives in, the villagers from Chin family village would be very disappointed, right? However, this also made Chinemo make a decision. It seems I need to build my own house. Of course, this has to wait until the activity center is completed first. Otherwise, if both projects start at the same time, what will the villagers think? At that point, Chinemo suspected that Chin Fugua would be scolding someone. Most likely, he would say, I'm happy you're building a house, but I don't like you spending money haphazardly on an activity center. Chinemo also considered that the house and the activity center could be built together. However, that would take up too much space. Before Chinemo could think it through, Chin Fugua, listening to Chinemo, smiled even more happily, the wrinkles on his face gathering together. In an instant, he pulled Chinemo and said, All right, let's go. Let's take a good look at the land in Chin family village. You choose wisely. Chapter 35. I wonder who dares to have an opinion? Chin Fugua started wandering around the village with Chinemo. He was telling everyone, Little Mo is going to build a house in the village. Little Mo is going to build a house. In an instant, the entire village knew about Qin Mo's plans to build a house. As a result, the villagers exclaimed, "What? Little Mo is building a house. Oh my, Little Mo is really going to build a house. Ha ha ha, that's great, Little Mo is building a house too. Where will it be?" Soon, it was no longer just Qin Mo and Qin Fugua walking around. Behind them were the second aunt, third uncle, Qin Jianjun, and Qin Liangping, all following with smiles on their faces. They were all excited, saying, "Great, Little Mo is finally going to build a house. Mother, our Qin family village will have buildings too. Although Little Mo has a villa in the city, nothing beats a house built by ourselves." In an instant, the elders of the village were following Qin Mo around. After a round, a group of elderly people eagerly asked, "Little Mo, have you found a place? Is that spot good? Where do you want to build the house?" Some even suggested, "Little Mo, my place is suitable. I have 4 rooms right by the main road. There's a street light right at the entrance. I can tear down my house, and you can build there." The third uncle also chimed in, "My house is good too. It's right next to a small river. You can even fish there." Qin Wenjuan even shouted, "My place is spacious. There are 7 rooms. If you're going to build, let us make it bigger." One by one, they were eager to help Qin Mo find a location for the house, offering advice without hesitation and suggesting that Qin Mo tear down their own houses. Hearing this, Qin Mo couldn't help but feel a mix of amusement and exasperation. This made him even more hesitant to speak up. He only wanted to build an activity center for the village. However, this also strengthened his resolve to build a house for himself. He indeed needed to build his own place. After all, how could he face the eager expectations of the villagers if he didn't? Yet, Qin Mo had some thoughts. What kind of skill was it to only build a house for himself? What if he tore down all the houses in the village and rebuilt them as new ones? Thinking of this, Qin Mo was somewhat tempted. He pondered carefully, and it seemed feasible. It probably wouldn't cost too much. Of course, rebuilding all the houses in the village was still a bit too ambitious for now. For the moment, he had to focus on getting the activity center built first, and even determine where to put it. The villagers were all very enthusiastic, calling out that they wanted to tear down their houses to let Qin Mo build. But how could Qin Mo actually tear down their homes? In the blink of an eye, Qin Mo found a suitable location. There was a rectangular piece of land by the main road at the village entrance. It used to be a small pond that had been filled in. Qin Mo was very satisfied with this spot. The key was that the area was large enough, making it particularly suitable for the activity center. He even turned to Qin Fugua and said, "Uncle Fugua, this place looks great, and it has such a large area." Seeing that Qin Mo liked the spot, Qin Fugua began to think. After a moment, he replied, "This place is indeed good and spacious, but it's rectangular. If you want the main entrance to face the road, you want to be able to have a courtyard. There is not enough space for that. If you want to keep a courtyard, then it can't face the main road. Who doesn't have a big courtyard in the village?" As a result, Qin Fugua couldn't help but say, No, you should pick another spot." It wasn't just Qin Fugua. Others in the village felt the same way. They all thought this plot of land was lacking. In their view, Qin Mo's house needed to be large, with plenty of space. And it had to have a big courtyard. Not to mention, there was plenty of land in the village. Why should Qin Mo settle for less? What the villagers didn't know was that Qin Mo intended to build an activity center. What need was there for a courtyard for an activity center? This location was actually the most suitable. Not only that, but it was right next to the electrical irrigation station, which was now the laundry room. Building the activity center here would not only make laundry convenient for the villagers, but it would also provide a space for them to relax. Then, they could set up a small supermarket underneath, so that villagers could buy their necessities all in one go. There couldn't be a better location than this. In fact, a larger area might even be wasteful. Therefore, Qin Mo quickly said to the villagers nearby, "This place is just right. The house I want to build won't have a courtyard. You know those modern villas, right? They have a terrace on top and a garage below. If there were a yard, it would be troublesome to enter and exit. This place is just right for building such a villa, don't you think?" Qin Mo is simply talking nonsense. He almost convinced himself with what he said. Fortunately, in just a few words, Qin Mo managed to persuade Qin Fugua and others. In an instant, it was decided. "All right, let us build it here. No more talking. Whatever style Xiao Mo wants, just go for it. Young people like different things than us." Yes, young people have their own perspective. So it's settled. The house will be built here. With the chatter settling down, the location for Qin Mo's house was finally determined. Of course, Qin Fugua didn't forget to remind Qin Mo Xiao Mo, "If you can't manage, you can expand a bit. It's okay to take up more space. The area is already quite large." Qin Fugua even wanted the place where Qin Mo was building to be bigger. Hearing this, Qin Mo replied, "Uncle Fugua, isn't that inappropriate? Wouldn't it be a violation if it's bigger? You can't just build whatever size you want in the countryside." However, upon hearing Qin Mo's words, Qin Fugua chuckled. "Hey, in other villages, the size of your land dictates how big your house can be. If you build too large, others will mind. But in Qin family village, does anyone mind? Once Qin Fugua said this, the elders of Qin family village immediately chimed in. Hey, the whole village could be torn down. And building a manor wouldn't be a problem. Who would dare to interfere? If you take up so much land alone, it might be a violation. But this land belongs to all of us. If you build bigger, we have no objections. For example, if you take land from your mistress, and she has no objections, who would dare to complain? When saying this, the elders of Qin family village revealed their pride and defiance. Chapter 36. No money, really no money. The pride on the faces of the elders of Qin family village made one want to laugh. But that's indeed the case. There are restrictions on building houses in the countryside. If there were no restrictions, wealthy people would come to the countryside to build manors, and that would be a problem. But Qin family village is different. No matter how big Qin Mo's house is, there are ways to justify it. The simplest way is if someone asks, just say, we are a few families building a house on this land. We all live here. Do you have any objections? No matter who comes, their opinions wouldn't matter. This is also the main reason why Qin Mo can build freely in Qin family village. This is why Qin Fugua is so confident. If you want to build there, just build there. Build however you want. Truly, no one can envy that. Once the location for the house was confirmed, the remaining tasks became simpler. Xiaomo, when do you plan to build? Do you know someone who builds houses? That's simple. I'll just contact them when the time comes. Hearing this, Qin Fugua nodded in agreement. In no time, he began discussing with a group of elders from Qin family village about what Qin Mo's house would look like and how beautiful it should be. How much cement and bricks will be needed. Over there, Senyi has even come over with a shovel. In his words, I'll level the ground first. Then it will be easier to dig the foundation. He even ran over to ask Qin Mo for the blueprints. From his demeanor, it seemed that if Qin Mo had the blueprints, he would plan to dig the foundation himself before Qin Mo could find a construction team. This scene left Qin Mo quite amused and exasperated. Thus, Qin Mo had no choice but to quickly look for a construction team. He was afraid that if he delayed any longer, the villagers from Qin family village would end up building the house for him. Finding a construction team wasn't troublesome. For a more formal option, he could hire a construction company. For a less formal option, he could even recruit workers from other villages or directly find a construction crew. Since it was very close to Danyang City, Qin Mo took out his phone and searched for a construction company in Danyang City. After making contact, he drove straight to Danyang City to discuss further. Not long after, when Qin Mo arrived and explained the functions of the house he wanted to build, the company quickly provided a rough sketch. Mr. Qin, take a look at this sketch. If we are to build a community center, the entertainment facilities must be comprehensive, including libraries, cinemas, chess rooms, and so on. The small supermarket you requested can also be accommodated. Of course, this is just a rough sketch based on your requirements to give you a more intuitive idea. The actual arrangements will need to be confirmed through a site inspection to determine the building area before we can provide detailed blueprints. I must say, although this construction company was not large, they were quite professional. This rough sketch was already close to what Qin Mo had envisioned, and they considered more aspects than he had thought of, prompting Qin Mo to say, let's do a site visit and confirm everything. All right, we'll go with you. Not long after, Qin Mo brought the construction team back to the village once more. After a round of measurements and 2 days of back-and-forth discussions with the construction company, they finally settled on a plan. The cost was 2 million, including hardware renovations, with a construction period of 3 months. Qin Mo was satisfied with the price, plan, and timeline, and immediately signed the contract. In no time, he also made the first payment. Of course, the reason for this quick progress was that this community center was merely a small project for the construction company and not complicated to execute. On the day the contract was signed, they began work on-site right away. During this period, Qin Mo also asked the construction team a question. You see, our village consists of old houses. If every household were to be demolished and rebuilt, what would the cost and time be? The construction team had already been impressed by Qin Mo's insights. Qin Mo is establishing an activity center under his own name. Before its completion, no information should be leaked. It is also understood that Qin Mo holds a significant identity to the people at the construction company. Qin Mo is seen as a wealthy boss who has made a fortune outside and is now giving back to his hometown. The villagers of Qin family village are quite envious of him. Upon hearing Qin Mo's words, the staff at the construction company became instantly excited. Building houses for an entire village is a major project. Therefore, after hearing Qin Mo's inquiry, they quickly responded. Mr. Qin, it all depends on your requirements. If we're talking about typical rural construction, the cost of the main structure of a house would be in the range of several $100,000. If you include renovations, basic decoration usually accounts for about 1/3 of the house cost, while higher quality finishes could be about half or even equal to the house cost. As for the timeline, you can request it to be as fast as you want. Qin Mo was momentarily taken aback by this statement. He instinctively asked, what do you mean? The person in charge smiled and explained, our construction speed depends on the funds. Simply put, the quicker the payment, the faster the progress. According to this person's words, if they used a whole slab pouring method, the main structure could be completed in as little as a month. 1 month to finish the main structure? Chin Mo was both pleased and a bit shocked. In his impression, building a house in the countryside could take several years. However, he realized that as long as the funds were sufficient, this speed could be understood. Following the person in charge's explanation, Chin Mo couldn't help but start calculating. If the main structure costs around 500,000 and renovations are similarly priced, that would mean a house costs about 1 million. There are dozens of households in Chin Family Village. Excluding those who haven't returned for many years or are no longer around, there are still over 20 households left. By this calculation, rebuilding the homes for the villagers would cost over 20 million. This does not even include his own house, which he would need to spend even more on. This made Chin Mo feel a bit of a headache. He didn't have that much money. He only had a little over 10 million in his account. Compared to 20 million, it was still lacking. After deducting 2 million for the construction of the activity center, Chin Mo previously thought he was not short on money, but now he felt that he truly was short on funds. This realization made him particularly eager to find a way to make more money at that moment. Chapter 37. Is this a trick on Chin Mo? Ever since binding the system, Chin Mo never imagined he would face a shortage of funds. However, he has now realized that his money is indeed insufficient. He couldn't even afford to build houses for Chin Family Village, which was unacceptable. Seeing that Chin Mo was silent, the person in charge seemed to have sensed his thoughts and quickly added, "Mr. Chin, I actually think there's no need to completely demolish and rebuild. Mr. Chin should really consider the welfare of the local villagers. Using prefabricated panels for constructing houses is actually a viable option. It's quite inexpensive, with the cost being only several 100,000 or even a few million to complete a house. Prefabricated construction? Yes. And it can be built very quickly. Within just a few days, a house can be ready. Mr. Chin doesn't have to worry about earthquake resistance either, as Dongyang is located in a flat area with very few historical earthquakes. It's not near any seismic zones, so there's no need for concern. Additionally, prefabricated panels are not only affordable but also simplify the renovation process. Mr. Chin seems to have seen such houses online. They look like building blocks. As long as the foundation is laid, the rooms can simply be placed on top of each other. However, very few people actually use this type of construction. While it is cheap, it is often criticized for its stability and other issues. As a result, despite promotions, the number of users remains very low. Is Mr. Chin short on money? Yes, he is indeed in need of funds at the moment. However, even when facing financial constraints, he wouldn't choose such a solution for the villagers of Chin Family Village. If any minor issues arise, it would lead to regret too late. Seeing Mr. Chin silent, the person in charge continued, "To be frank, Mr. Chin, most of the people in your village are elderly." "That's enough," Mr. Chin interjected, understanding the implications. "Put nicely, it's about not needing to worry too much. Put bluntly, they are mostly old, and how many more years do they have left? Ultimately, for any type of housing, ensuring their comfort is sufficient. Given their ages, building overly luxurious houses would be a waste. Nonetheless, it remains as stated before, for Mr. Chin. Not doing it is one thing, but if he does, how could he possibly shortchange the villagers? Especially since the more money he spends on the villagers, the greater the rewards from the system. What does age and waste matter to Mr. Chin? The villagers of Chin Family Village deserve the best." Thus, he turned to the person in charge and said, "Let's revisit this matter later." "All right," the person in charge replied, a bit disappointed, feeling that this business deal might fall through. However, what he didn't know was that Mr. Chin still had the same mindset: to make money, and still make money. Although both the activity center and other projects would provide rewards once completed, they are all major undertakings with a lengthy timeline, which made Mr. Chin a bit impatient. In a moment of contemplation, he started thinking about what to give back to the villagers. The problem was that he hadn't come up with any good ideas for rewarding them yet, so he could only wander around the village. At this time, most of the elderly in Chin Family Village had gathered at the construction site, concerned about not causing trouble for the workers. While standing at a distance, they couldn't help but gossip. The construction teams in this city are indeed different. They use excavators directly for digging foundations. The speed is really impressive. I think in less than 2 months, we'll see Xiao Mo's new house. What a pity, what a pity. What is so regrettable? It's a pity that the house won't be finished before the new year. Chin Mo came over, and a series of inquiries followed. "Xiao Mo, when will this house be finished? Did the construction team say when? We're looking forward to seeing you move into your new house. We can't wait any longer." After waiting for so many years, now you can't wait? Hearing this, Chin Mo smiled. "It should be ready in about 2 months, but that will be after the new year." "After the new year? Then it seems we really want to be able to move in for the holiday." "Isn't that pointless to say? There's just over a month until the new year. How could it be so fast? Luckily, it's not too cold this year. Otherwise, the house wouldn't be able to be built." Exactly. Seeing Qin Wenhao and Qin Jianjun chatting away, Qin Mo curiously asked, "Third uncle, have you fed the pigs?" Qin Wenhao replied, "I fed them a while ago." After a pause, he suddenly realized something and hurriedly said, "Oh no, I almost forgot. I have something to do, so I'll leave first." After saying that, Qin Wenhao quickly left. Seeing him in such a hurry, Qin Mo was puzzled and asked, "What is going on with third uncle?" Beside him, second aunt laughed, "He probably went to get pig feed. The feed has run out." Oh. Just as Qin Mo responded, second aunt seemed to realize something and quickly said, "Xiao Mo, you don't need to help. Your third uncle can manage on his own. You can't help with this, just take it easy." It seems there's a lesson learned from past experiences, as she was clearly worried about Qin Mo getting involved. Hearing this, Qin Mo was both amused and speechless. He chuckled, "I didn't say I'd help. Why are you treating me like a thief? Haha, you child. Saying such things. I isn't it because I don't want to trouble you?" At that moment, the old folks around started to laugh. Qin Mo then asked Qin Jianjun, "Uncle Jianjun, aren't you going to tend to the sheep?" As soon as he spoke, Qin Jianjun quickly replied, "We've cut a lot of grass at home. It's enough for now, we can't cut more. If we do, there won't be enough for the sheep to eat." What does this mean? Is this a hint to Qin Mo? Qin Mo genuinely intended to help Qin Jianjun get some grass for the sheep. Although the rewards for cutting grass from the system aren't much, every little bit counts. Who would have thought that Qin Jianjun would shut him down? Qin Mo felt a mix of amusement and frustration. But in an instant, Qin Jianjun looked a bit sad, and he added that he didn't need that much grass. Seeing him like this, Qin Mo asked in surprise, "What's wrong?" A chorus of voices chimed in. Last night, Uncle Jianjun's old sheep gave birth, but unfortunately, it wasn't discovered in time, and the few lambs suffocated to death. Jianjun was initially excited about having lambs, thinking he could raise more sheep. But who would have expected this? Alas, who knew the sheep would give birth in the middle of the night? This really broke Uncle Jianjun's heart. Chapter 38, Boss. Can you manage it in a day? Speaking of this, the elderly people from Kinjiakan sighed. The newly born lambs. Who would have thought 3 of them would die? If those 3 lambs had grown up, how much money would they have been worth? For the older folks, who have little income, this was quite disheartening. Take Qin Jianjun. For instance, he relied on raising sheep to earn a bit of money. Who could have predicted such a thing? If those 3 lambs had survived and grown up, they could have continued to breed, leading to an endless cycle of sheep. Of course, money doesn't work that way, but this is how Jianjun thought about it. Unfortunately, now it was all in vain. In fact, what wasn't mentioned was that on one side, Qin Mo was building a house, and on the other, the old sheep was about to give birth. Jianjun was very happy. When the house was completed and Qin Mo moved in, he could at least celebrate with firecrackers from those few sheep. But now all that was gone. Seeing the group of elderly people sighing, Jianjun felt depressed. Qin Mo silently noted this down. Suddenly, he calmly said to Jianjun, "Don't be too sad." As soon as Qin Mo finished comforting him, Jianjun replied, "What's there to be sad about? They died, so they died. I've buried them. It's actually less hassle for me now with fewer sheep." Though he said that, it was hard to tell what he truly felt inside. While they were talking, Grandma found a brick and sat down, hitting her knee. Seeing this, Qin Mo quickly asked, "Grandma, is your leg hurting?" Grandma waved her hand, "Not really. Last night while sleeping, the blanket slipped off, and I might have caught a draft. So it's a bit sore." As she was speaking, she quickly added, "I'm fine, don't worry too much, Xiao Mo." "I'm not worrying." Though he said he wasn't worrying, Qin Mo was quietly taking note of it. He remembered something. He had only thought about how convenient running water was for washing and how solar heating was great for hot water. He had overlooked one thing: heating. It was getting cold, and it was cumbersome. Even if this year wasn't a harsh winter, it was still not as pleasant as the other 3 seasons. People often say, older adults need to get through this winter. Elderly individuals have lower body temperatures and less activity in winter, which leads to a higher mortality rate during the cold season. Winter is not just cold, it's also dry, making it easy to trigger various diseases, especially cardiovascular diseases. Thus, heating is very important, and not just heating, but also maintaining humidity. This thought sparked Qin Mo's mind again. Wasn't there something to be done? Suddenly, things took a turn. At this moment, Qin Mo felt a bit excited. He sensed that he could hardly hold back his emotions. In a flash, he pretended to take out his phone and checked it briefly. Then, he hurriedly told the elders of Qin Family Village, "Oh, I can't chat anymore. I have something to attend to. I need to leave quickly." "What is it, Xiao Mo?" someone casually asked. Qin Mo straightforwardly replied, "Someone wants to discuss business with me. I have to go." Upon hearing this, the elders of Qin Family Village had no doubts and quickly urged him, "Then you should hurry. Oh, discussing business is important. Go ahead." Yes, making money is crucial. Don't delay." Qin Mo agreed. "All right, I'm off." After saying this, he rushed home, got into his A8, and sped out of the village, disappearing in an instant. Before long, Qin Mo arrived in the county and headed straight to an electronics store. How big is this air conditioner? He asked. Hello, sir, this is a 2P air conditioner. It's very suitable for use in a bedroom. Does it include delivery and installation? Where are you located? In the countryside, Shirtang Town. That's fine. We offer installation throughout the county. Do you have enough stock? I want to buy several units. Several units? How many do you need? Do you have more than 20? That's quite a large order. The manager of the electronics store rushed over. Not only do we deliver, but we also include installation and offer one free relocation service. Qin Imo nodded and said, I'll buy it. He spent nearly 100,000 yuan without hesitation. Indeed, what Qin Imo mentioned about discussing business was all a facade. He had come out to arrange heating equipment for the elders of Qin family village. It was important to ensure they were taken care of. Thanks to the words of his second aunt, he realized that he could give back to the elders of Qin family village. Of course, air conditioners are not the best heating devices, as they can make the air very dry when in use. However, Qin Imo had considered this as well. He not only bought air conditioners, but also added humidifiers to prevent dryness. While air conditioners may not be ideal, having them at least helps prevent issues like what happened with his second aunt. At least if a blanket slips off, it won't leave legs exposed to the cold. Additionally, Qin Imo bought the air conditioners as a temporary solution. He had plans to rebuild houses for the elders of Qin family village. When the new houses are built, the air conditioners would be replaced with underfloor heating, eliminating such problems altogether. Of course, having both underfloor heating and air conditioning wouldn't be a waste. In winter, there would be underfloor heating, and in summer, air conditioning would still be necessary. Once the new houses are completed, the air conditioners can simply be relocated there. How could that be considered wasteful? Not only that, having prepared the air conditioners, Qin Imo also bought dozens of electric blankets. The electric blankets can ensure that the elders in Qin family village stay warm and cozy in their beds at all times. They might not know how to use the air conditioners, but electric blankets are definitely loved by the elderly. The electric blankets Qin Imo bought are all of high quality. Once everything is set up, when can the delivery and installation be done? Don't worry, Mr. Qin. Tomorrow, it will definitely be ready for you. That is a great help. After paying and getting the receipt, Qin Imo quickly left the appliance market. However, after leaving, he headed straight to the livestock trading market. There, cattle and horses were gathered, and the place was bustling with noise. When Qin Imo came out again, not only did he smell of livestock, but he also bought 20 little sheep, waiting for someone to deliver them to Qin family village. After purchasing the sheep, Qin Imo drove back to the town to find a place selling pig feed. In no time, he had another list ready. Once everything was arranged, as Qin Imo was about to drive back to Qin family village, he passed by a barber shop. A thought crossed his mind, and he walked in. Boss, can you work for a whole day? The barbershop owner was taken aback by Qin Imo's words. After a moment of surprise, he replied, Bro, this is a barbershop. Realizing what he said, Qin Imo couldn't help but chuckle and quickly clarified. What I meant was to hire you for a whole day to go to our village and give haircuts to the elderly there. Oh. In a flash, Qin Imo and the barbershop owner reached an agreement. 500 yuan for a day, and he would accompany Qin Imo back to Qin family village. The barbershop owner was thrilled and quickly packed his things. You should know that 500 yuan is quite a lot in a small town. For him, earning this much money in a day is rare, and it saves on utilities as well. There was no reason to refuse. The main reason Qin Imo wanted to bring a barber back to Qin family village was that he remembered the elderly there rarely get their hair cut. Their hair had grown quite long and messy. This wasn't because the elders were untidy, but rather due to their age making it difficult to go out. Getting a haircut was quite a hassle for them. Additionally, given their frugality, they often used laundry detergent to wash their hair. Expecting them to spend 10 or 20 yuan at a regular barbershop for a haircut was basically impossible. Since Qin Imo remembered this, he thought it would be a nice gesture to bring a barber back to tidy up the elderly in Qin family village. After finalizing the arrangement with the barbershop owner, Qin Imo drove back to Qin family village with the barber. It didn't take long for them to reach the village. As soon as he entered the village, many elderly men and women from Qin family village gathered around when they saw Qin Mo's vehicle, quickly showering him with concerned inquiries. Xiao Mo, how's the business deal going? Did you close the deal, Xiao Mo? They took Qin Mo's earlier words seriously, thinking he had gone to negotiate business. However, what business was there? It was all a misunderstanding. Faced with the questions from the villagers, whether the deal was successful or not depended solely on what Qin Imo said. In no time, Qin Imo laughed heartily and declared, It's done. A big deal. This time, I made a fortune. It was all just a show. Qin Imo boasted about the big deal and the profits. He was afraid the villagers wouldn't believe him. Otherwise, he might have claimed he made $1 billion. It was all just talk. Of course, Qin Mo's boasting wasn't for his own glory or to show off. As he said, the purpose of his claims was to present himself as someone with endless money, having earned a lot. This way, when he later gave back to the village, they would accept it with ease. This wasn't the first time Qin Imo had done such a thing. But it was clear that the villagers had no idea about the truth. Upon hearing Qin Mo's words, the elderly folks genuinely felt happy for him. Really? That's great. I knew Xiao Mo would do well. Haha, making money is good, very good. Now we can rest easy. Seeing the joy on the faces of the elderly, Qin Mo smiled and nodded. Just then, the barber in the car spoke up. Boss, should I go down and start working? Sure, these are all people from our village. Thank you for your hard work. No problem. The barber responded as he got out of the car, bringing down a portable stool with him. Having received money from Qin Mo, the barber was considerate enough to bring a stool so that those getting their hair cut would have a place to sit. When the villagers saw someone getting out of the car, they were a bit surprised, and someone quickly asked, "Who is this?" Before the barber could speak, Qin Mo was quick to explain. He's my friend who runs a barber shop in town. He likes to come to the countryside to practice his skills by giving free haircuts. I ran into him on the road and brought him to our village, so if anyone needs a haircut, he can help out. Qin Mo didn't mention any payment. Although 500 yuan wasn't much, it would certainly be a concern for the elderly villagers. Upon hearing Qin Mo's words, the enthusiasm of the villagers surged. Oh, Xiao Mo's friend. Quick, someone get him a glass of water. Come, let's go sit at home. Oh, you came all the way here just to cut our hair. How embarrassing. Thank you for your hard work. Upon witnessing this scene, the barber glanced at Qin Mo, who signaled him with his eyes, prompting the barber to engage in a few pleasantries. He didn't waste any time and quickly announced, "No more water. If anyone wants a haircut, please take a seat. I've brought all my tools." As soon as he said this, the elderly villagers of Qin family village hesitated to be polite, but seeing the barber's readiness, they couldn't help but feel a bit tempted. Their hair had long needed trimming. In the blink of an eye, the village entrance transformed into a makeshift barber shop. Soon after, the elderly villagers stood up from their seats, looking refreshed after their haircuts. Meanwhile, other elderly folks from Qin family village also arrived, inquiring about the haircut situation. Qin Mo didn't need to pay much attention to the haircutting process. It would take a while for all the elderly villagers to finish. The barber would be busy for some time. Just as the barber was engrossed in his work, a small truck drove into Qin family village. Seeing the crowd gathered at the village entrance, the truck driver rolled down his window and asked, "Excuse me, is this Qin family village?" His question immediately drew the attention of the elderly villagers waiting for haircuts. Someone replied, "Yes." The truck driver then asked, "Could you tell me where Qin Jianjun's house is?" As soon as he finished speaking, a chorus of bleating sheep echoed from the truck's cargo area, catching everyone's attention. It became clear that the truck was transporting several lively sheep. After the driver finished speaking, a group of people turned to look at Qin Jianjun, who was currently getting a haircut. He had been sitting with his head down but quickly looked up when he heard his name, puzzled, and said, "I'm Qin Jianjun." After glancing at the truck's cargo area, he muttered, "Sheep for sale? I'm not selling any." Seeing Qin Jianjun's confused expression, the truck driver smiled and promptly replied, "I'm here to deliver sheep to you. Stop your haircut for now." This statement left the elderly villagers of Qin family village utterly bewildered. What did he mean by delivering sheep? They were all momentarily stunned. However, it was San Yi who reacted the quickest, turning to Qin Jianjun and asking, "Jianjun, did you buy sheep?" He instinctively thought Qin Jianjun was looking to expand his farming. Yet, it wasn't just him. Qin Jianjun himself was equally confused. He immediately responded, "No. You must have the wrong person. What sheep are you delivering? I didn't buy any." The truck driver, upon hearing this, addressed Qin Jianjun. "Is this Qin family village?" "Yes." "Then you must be Qin Jianjun, right?" "Ah, yes." "Well, you haven't been mistaken. These more than 20 little sheep are all yours. You should find a place to unload them quickly. I'm ready to leave. There are still more than 20 sheep. The truck is full." Qin Jianjun was taken aback. He hurriedly said again, "No, I really didn't buy them. Who told you to deliver them to me?" "The sheep seller asked me to deliver them to you." "Then who bought them?" "How would I know?" Fortunately, the driver seemed reliable. He quickly said, "Forget it. I'll call the sheep seller and ask." He took out his phone and made a call. After hanging up, he told Qin Jianjun, "A young guy bought them for you, driving a black A8. Looks like a big boss." Upon hearing this from the truck driver, Qin Jianjun slapped his thigh and instantly understood. This must be something Qin Mo did. Not only did he realize it, but even the elderly in Qin family village understood upon hearing about the A8. Qin Mo bought them? He bought sheep for Jianjun? I knew it. How could something just be delivered for no reason? This is definitely something Qin Mo would do. Suddenly, there was a flurry of chatter among them. After Qin Jianjun realized that it was Qin Mo who bought the sheep for him, he instinctively thought about how much it would cost for all those sheep. No. Take them back. Take them back. He waved his hands. How much will this cost? Why did Qin Mo buy so many sheep for me? I don't want this many. Looking at the sheep made Qin Jianjun feel pained. However, since they had already arrived, the driver couldn't really take them back. He said, "I'm just the delivery guy. I only handle the delivery, not the return. Please don't make it difficult for me. I'll unload them for you." But what you do afterward, whether you want to return them or not, is not my concern. I can't take them back. Meanwhile, the elderly in Qin family village had also figured things out. It was definitely Qin Mo who heard that Jianjun's sheep had died right after birth and decided to buy them. This kid, can he really remember something like this? Going out to do business and coming back with no sheep. Amidst the chatter and the driver's urging, the truckload of sheep was finally unloaded at Qin Jianjun's home. Looking at the pen now filled with lambs, Qin Jianjun felt both happy and distressed. He was happy to see so many sheep, which felt festive. He had never fed so many sheep before and had long dreamed of the day when the pen would be full. What distressed him was that these were all bought with money that belonged to Qin Mo. It really pained him. Noticing the situation, someone nearby joked, "Jianjun, your sheep pen is really full now. Haha, weren't you saying you wanted to feed more sheep? Now you have more, over 20 sheep." This kid Qin Mo really thought of everything. This is a problem. The sheep pen is not enough. Listening to these words, Qin Jianjun couldn't help it. "No, I have to go find Xiaoma." As soon as he said this, a crowd of people chimed in. Yes, go find Xiaoma. How could this kid do such a thing? He is doing such a big thing without saying a word. If he really buys them, at least let Jianjun take a look. A group of elderly people gathered at the door of Qin Mo's house. However, when they arrived at the entrance, no one was there. The door is locked. Where's the car? The car is not here either. Where did this kid run off to? Qin Mo had already left. He had calculated that once the things were delivered to Kanjiakan, the elderly there would definitely cause some commotion. Qin Jianjun would surely make a fuss as well. Knowing this, Qin Mo had already taken off. At this moment, Qin Mo was almost in the county. It just so happened that he and T had a proper bath in days. He was planning to find a place to soak and rest. Seeing that Qin Mo was not around, Qin Fugua spoke up. "I'll give Xiaoma a call." Saying this, he took out his phone and dialed Qin Mo's number. The call connected quickly. "Uncle Fugua, Xiaoma, did you buy the sheep for your Uncle Jianjun? What are you doing with that? Your Uncle Jianjun is looking for you." On the other end of the line, Qin Mo heard this and grinned. "They delivered it so quickly? It's already at home. Just let it be, feed them. Don't talk about that. Where are you? Hurry back." Qin Mo on the other end chuckled. "Uncle Fugua, I can't come back right now. I have things to do outside." Hearing Qin Mo's words, Qin Fugua was suspicious. "You're not avoiding coming back because you're afraid of being scolded, are you?" Qin Mo on the other end of the line felt a bit awkward. He was indeed right. It wasn't just fear of being scolded. Mainly, Qin Mo was afraid of trouble and nagging. For Qin Mo, it was better to run away. So much so that Qin Mo said, "Uncle Fugua, you hit the nail on the head." Not only did Qin Mo hear what Fugua said, but the elders of Kanjiakan also listened in. They couldn't help but shake their heads and sigh, finding it somewhat amusing. This kid, he really ran away. Oh dear, this Xiaoma. Jianjun, I think you should just take care of the sheep. Xiaoma clearly doesn't want to deal with you. If he doesn't come back, you won't even have a place to return the sheep. Why is this kid acting like a rogue? Hearing this, Qin Jianjun was anxious. He hurriedly shouted at Qin Fugua, "Give me the phone. I'll talk to Xiaoma." Qin Fugua handed the phone to Qin Jianjun. After taking the call, Qin Jianjun said to Qin Mo on the other end, "Xiaoma, aren't you being unreasonable? Come back and return the sheep. Uncle Jianjun, they've already been bought. Just take good care of them. Returning them is impossible. If you keep saying this, I might not come back to the village at all." Qin Jianjun was choked by Qin Mo's words. He hurriedly replied, "No, I'm not saying you should return everything, okay? I keep a few sheep. More than 20 in total, and I can't handle it all." Qin Mo, I don't believe you, Uncle Jianjun. You're just tricking me. When I go back, you must have returned them all. Qin Jianjun. Chapter 41. Is the second ant feeling jealous? Qin Mo firmly does not believe this trickery. Anyway, it is impossible for him to return to Qin family village anytime soon. At the very least, he has to wait until tomorrow for things to settle down. However, Qin Mo's words left Qin Jianjun at a loss. He wanted Qin Mo to come back and return the sheep, but given the situation, it seemed this wouldn't work. For a moment, Qin Jianjun truly couldn't think of a solution. It was fortunate that Qin Mo had run away quickly, with him not around. The villagers in Qin family village had no way to deal with it. Otherwise, they would have been endlessly discussing it by now. Seeing that Qin Jianjun had nothing to say, a group of elderly folks nearby chimed in. What did Xiao Mo say? Where did he go? Hurry and bring Xiao Mo back. What did I say? What did I say? I said, never tell Xiao Mo anything. After saying this, Qin Wenhao patted his chest. He couldn't help but add, it's a good thing we only bought sheep from Jianjun. If he had gotten us all something, that would have been a headache. Just after Qin Wenhao finished speaking, an elderly lady said, enough already, dozens of sheep, that is not cheap. Just then, a voice came from a distance. It was Aunt Wang running over. From far away, she started shouting. A big truck has arrived at the village entrance, looking for Qin Wenhao. It's carrying pig feed. You all should go check it out. The villagers had all run to Qin Mo's doorstep. The village entrance was empty. Only Aunt Wong from the laundry was still there, which is why she hurried to call for people. As soon as Qin Wenhao heard this, he was stunned. What? Pig feed? Goodness. Qin Mo remembered even this. Originally relieved, Qin Wenhao suddenly became anxious. He shouted at Qin Jianjun, Jianjun, give me the phone. No, I need to talk to Xiao Mo properly. At that moment, on the other end of the line, Qin Mo heard this and immediately realized they were talking about the pig feed. He hurriedly said to Qin Jianjun, Uncle Jianjun, I have something to do. I'm hanging up. After saying that, he quickly ended the call. By the time Qin Wenhao got the phone, the call had already ended. At that moment, the villagers in Qin family village were in an uproar. Oh dear, this kid, why did he buy pig feed? How did he even buy pig feed? Xiao Mo, this child, Wenhao, you should go check it out. Oh no, it's a whole truckload of pig feed. When the pig feed was unloaded, Qin Wenhao couldn't help but exclaim, goodness, this pig feed could feed several pigs for a year. Qin Mo was indeed generous. They used a large truck to transport the pig feed. While feeding the pigs, if you add a little bit of something else, isn't that enough for the pigs to eat for a year? However, once the pig feed was unloaded, the elderly people of Qin family village started talking again. No, we really can't speak carelessly in front of Xiao Mo, isn't it true? Just this morning, we mentioned that Wenhao went to get pig feed, and this kid bought back a whole truckload. Just said that Jianjun's lamb died, and this kid brought back dozens. This kid really remembers everything. The elderly folks in Qin family village shook their heads and sighed. It was both comforting and distressing. The comfort is simple. Who wouldn't he be happy to have such a good young person in the family? Whatever you casually say, he remembers it. The reasons for distress are also straightforward. It's all about wasting money. How much has been spent now? At this moment, the group of elderly people continued to chatter. Did you see that? Next time when Xiao Mo is around, it's best not to say anything at all. Yes, I said it should be like this long ago. Who knew this kid would remember that too? Exactly. We had already been cautious after mentioning it once, and yet he still did this. I've learned my lesson. Next time Xiao Mo is here, we mustn't speak about anything, not even what we had for lunch. Otherwise who knows how he'll spend money again. Right. Alright then. The group of elderly folks began to summarize their experiences. Just then, someone said, oh right, did you say anything else to Xiao Mo? He even bought the pig feed. There can't be anything more, right? Oh dear, think about what else we might have said. The elderly people started racking their brains. After a long while, they concluded, nothing, really nothing. I can't remember anything else. It seems we didn't say anything. That's good. Suddenly, second grandma got a bit nervous and quickly added, wait, I did tell Xiao Mo that my leg felt a bit uncomfortable this morning. I was out in the wind tonight. As soon as she said this, the group of elderly people became tense. Huh, you said that? Oh no. This kid wouldn't have done something again, would he? Quick, see if anyone has entered the village. Let us hope he didn't buy anything again. Fortunately, the elderly folks in Qin family village were overly anxious. In a short while, no one entered the village. This made the group of elderly people breathe a sigh of relief. No one is coming. Maybe Xiao Mo really didn't take it seriously. He might not have remembered. That is good. But while they felt relieved, second grandma also felt a bit disappointed. She murmured, he bought pig feed for Wenhao. Why didn't Xiao Mo remember what I said? What? Do you still want Xiao Mo to spend money on you? Second grandma quickly waved her hand. I didn't mean that. I can't accept his money. I am laughing heartily. Haha, don't say that. At this age, the old lady is just jealous because Xiao Mo didn't remember what she said. The second grandmother's face turned red. What nonsense are you talking? Am I that petty? You old man. However, what this group of elderly folks doesn't know is that Qin Mo didn't forget, nor did he overlook it. It's just that he didn't have time to bring the gifts today. By tomorrow, the elders of Qin family village will know what a surprise really means. Not to mention this, at this moment, a series of notification sounds echoed in Qin Mo's mind. Ding. The host gives back to the villagers by purchasing lambs for Qin Jianjun, earning a cash reward of 5 million. Ding. The host gives back to the villagers by purchasing pig feed for Qin Wenhao, earning a luxury watch as a reward. The system rewards have arrived. Chapter 42. This kid has impressed me. After hearing the system's notification, Qin Mo was quite excited. A cash reward of 5 million. A string of numbers suddenly appeared in his account. This brought him much closer to the 20 million needed for building houses for the entire village. Thus, facing the busy technicians, Qin Mo excitedly said, add another hour. Receiving such a large reward, it would be unreasonable for Qin Mo not to add another hour. Of course, aside from the cash reward, Qin Mo also received a watch. It's worth mentioning that this is not the first time Qin Mo has received a watch as a reward. The last time it was a Rolex. And this time it's a luxury brand. After researching this watch, Qin Mo found it to be significantly better than the previous one. The previous Greenwater Ghost was worth around 200,000 to 300,000 at most. But this luxury brand is worth at least 2 million. This means Chin Mo received a total of 7 million in rewards. Wow. This once again made Chin Mo extremely excited. He then told the technician, "Let us have another one. Is 1 hour not enough after receiving so many rewards?" Sure enough, he was feeling quite elated. Fortunately, the next day, around 9 in the morning, Chin Mo finally got up. After lingering for a while, he didn't rush back to Chin family village immediately. Chin Mo was waiting. Going back too early isn't a good thing. Luckily, after some waiting, a phone call came in at 9 o'clock. "Boss, I'm here to deliver the air conditioners. They have arrived." Hearing the voice on the phone, Chin Mo smiled and said, "Thank you for your hard work. Have the installers arrived?" "Yes, they are here." "Then please go ahead and install the air conditioners, one for each household in our village. Install them for those who are home. I'll head back now." "Okay." After hanging up the phone, Chin Mo tidied up and quickly drove towards Chin family village. At that moment, the villagers were once again left in shock. Yesterday, I mentioned that I hadn't remembered the words of the third grandmother. I never expected that today. All of this is air conditioners? All air conditioners. They were all bought by Xiao Mo. Anyway, they were all purchased by the boss. There are also electric blankets and humidifiers. Oh my. The elderly folks in Chin family village were wide-eyed and slapping their thighs. How much money must all these air conditioners cost? I said, how could Xiao Mo possibly forget? Isn't that right? It turns out they weren't delivered yesterday. This child. The second grandmother was shaking her head and sighing while scolding Chin Mo. Seeing her like this, the third grandfather said with annoyance, "Are you satisfied now? You said Xiao Mo didn't remember you. Look, did he remember or not? With so many air conditioners, how much did this cost?" The second grandmother replied helplessly, "How was I to know this child really remembered? Can you blame me for that?" Chin Mo did remember his words. However, at this moment, the second grandmother had no joy at all. Unable to help herself, she looked at the delivery driver and asked, "Can we return these? At our age, what do we need air conditioners for? Isn't this a waste?" However, the delivery driver had already been given a heads up by Chin Mo over the phone. He directly replied, "No returns. He ordered too much. We have these all on order. There's no way to return them. The payment has already been completed. Unless there's a quality issue, otherwise, it can't be done." It's the same old story. The elderly folks in Chin family village heard this and called Xiao Mo. "Hurry and tell him to come back. Do you see this? In the future, we can't tell Xiao Mo anything. Didn't you say he wouldn't remember? What is this? Damn it. I've decided, from now on, I won't say a word to Xiao Mo. How can money be spent like this? It's painful to think about. Can the elderly folks in Chin family village not feel the pain? With so many air conditioners, if it were given by someone else, they could be happy for a whole day. But thinking about the money Chin Mo spent, Xiao Mo's new house hasn't even had air conditioning installed yet. This air conditioning should be saved for his new house. He hasn't even married yet. In the future, if he has children, they will need to go to school. And when they grow up, they will need to get married and then have children. How much money will that take? It would be better to save this money. Instead, it's just been wasted. Luckily, Chin Mo isn't here. If he were around, he would be dumbfounded. He hasn't even gotten married yet. His wife's whereabouts are still unknown. Why are these elderly folks calculating everything for his future children? If they kept calculating down the line, wouldn't that lead to grandchildren? What? Do they think his future descendants won't earn any money, just relying on him? Seeing the group of elderly folks clamoring, the delivery driver didn't care about all that. He directly asked, "Whose house should I install these in?" Upon hearing this, they all refused. No installations, none at all. Save them for Xiao Mo's new house. We don't want any air conditioners, absolutely none. The driver continued to ask, "Whose house is this? Is anyone living here?" He pointed at the nearest house, belonging to Chin Huai. Chin Huai immediately waved his hand. "I don't want it. Absolutely don't want it." Hearing his words, the truck driver feigned a laugh and said, "Don't want it? All right, write it down. Just in time, I need an air conditioner at home." "Sir, thank you. What does that mean?" Chin Huai was puzzled and hurriedly asked, "You need an air conditioner at home? If you want it, can I get a refund?" The truck driver replied directly, "Refund? That's not possible." The boss selling the air conditioner said, "If anyone doesn't want this air conditioner, we'll just take it away. And it'll be ours. No refunds. I got a free air conditioner. How can I not be happy?" Listening to these words, a group of elderly folks fell silent for a moment and then became anxious. What kind of international joke is this? This was all bought with Chin Mo's money. How can it go to someone else? If they don't want it, it gets taken away and no money is refunded? How can this be allowed? Chin Huai, in a fluster, quickly said, "Install it, install it, install it. This is my house. Install it for me first." The truck driver got excited. "Didn't you say you didn't want it? You paid for it. How can you not want it?" The driver feigned disappointment. "Oh, I thought I got an air conditioner for free." At that moment, a group of elderly folks shook their heads and sighed. "Here we go again. This is another scheme by Xiao Mo. Great. Now we have no way out. When he was installing the tap water, he said no refunds. And now it's the same with the air conditioner. This kid. I'm truly at a loss. Chapter 43. How unwelcome could it be? By the time Chin Mo returned to Kanjiakan, several air conditioners had already been installed. The houses in Kanjiakan were all old, so it was very convenient to install them. Just a small hole, and the outdoor unit could be connected easily. It's much easier than in high-rise buildings, which require drilling. Many of these old houses are half-brick structures, and some are even made of mud. Drilling holes is a lot less troublesome here. Chin Mo had prepared himself for a scolding upon returning to the village. However, what surprised him was that after parking the car, no one came to scold him. Not a single elderly person came to confront him. Moreover, when Chin Mo saw the elderly folks in the village and wanted to greet them, it was as if they didn't see him at all. They didn't even make a sound. This scene left Chin Mo completely bewildered. What was going on? Are they mad? So angry that they won't even acknowledge me? What Chin Mo didn't know was that before he returned, the villagers had unanimously agreed on one thing. Don't talk to him. The more you say, the more mistakes you make. You might accidentally say something. And this kid will spend money. Better not say a word. If you say something he remembers, it could be a problem. The villagers of Kanjiakan were trying to prevent Chin Mo from getting any ideas, to the point of not even speaking in front of him. By the time Chin Mo found Chin Fugwa to clarify the situation, he was somewhat at a loss for whether to laugh or cry. Facing Chin Mo, Chin Fugwa said irritably, "You're still laughing? Your third uncle and the others are too scared to talk to you. They're afraid that if they say anything, you'll hold it against them. You really are something. You even bought pig feed. And even if you're buying sheep, you should buy fewer. You don't know? But after you bought so many sheep, Uncle Jianjun got up before dawn to go cut the wheat seedlings. He actually wanted to feed more sheep, but he was managing with just a few before. Now with so many, he's been back and forth several times and is exhausted." Hearing this, Chin Mo was stunned. Did this really tire Uncle Jianjun out? When buying sheep, Chin Mo only thought about getting a few more so that Uncle Jianjun could feed them. After all, that was his dream. But he never expected that he might have bought too many. It seemed to have worn people out. Chin Mo Xiaodao. I didn't think about it that much. Can we return a few sheep? Chin Mo shook his head. I bought them at the livestock trading market. And they were all scattered, not from one place. Upon hearing Chin Mo's words, Chin Fugwa sighed. Then just feed them. It is tiring. But I can see that Jianjun is still quite happy. This is what you call pain and happiness together. Hearing this, Chin Mo felt relieved. After a busy morning, all the air conditioners in Chin family village were finally installed. Things like electric blankets were also distributed one by one among the villagers. Luckily, there were many installation workers brought by the delivery team. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been finished so quickly. Once the air conditioners were installed, just as the installation team left, Chin Mo received a notification from the system. Ding! Host rewards the villagers by installing air conditioners and receives a system reward, a building in Donyang City. When Chin Mo heard this notification, he was taken aback and then became excited. The system actually rewarded him with a building. A building was worth a lot of money. This made Chin Mo feel thrilled. Moreover, he checked and found that the building was located in the city center of Donyang, the busiest area. This undoubtedly meant the building was even more valuable. The air conditioners were definitely worth it. However, before Chin Mo could enjoy the excitement for too long, his phone rang. A call came in. Almost immediately, a voice came through the phone. "Hello, boss. I'm the one delivering your goods. Are you at home? Delivery?" Chin Mo was a bit suspicious, but soon the voice continued. "It's about the bathroom you ordered. It has arrived, along with the solar water heater." If one were to say that people were happy, then happy events could come in a rush. Chin Mo never expected that the bathroom he ordered online would actually arrive. As the seller had previously said, it would take 15 days. Chin Mo hasn't paid attention to this matter in the past few days. Unexpectedly, at home. Just deliver it directly to our village. Didn't you say it would take 15 days? It's not even that long. The voice on the other end replied. 15 days is our buffer time, but after you place the order, we worked overtime to produce it. It's already ready now. The 15 days is just to ensure that the seller is not caught off guard. In fact, once they start production, the speed is quite fast. Hearing this, Chin Mo repeatedly said, Okay. Then hurry up, we can start installing it today. After saying that, he quickly hung up the phone and rushed to find Chin Fugwa. The delivery of the bathroom should be arriving soon, and Chin Fugwa needs to keep an eye on it. He had to inform Chin Fugwa. However, when Chin Mo found Chin Fugwa, he noticed that Chin Fugwa's expression darkened again as he listened to Chin Mo. He pointed at Chin Mo but couldn't find the words. Seeing Chin Fugwa like this, Chin Mo quickly added, "There's a solar water heater in the bathroom. Uncle Fugwa, think about it. At your age, it's really inconvenient, right? And that pit toilet stinks. Having a ready-made bathroom is so much better." Chin Fugwa looked at Chin Mo helplessly and said, "Just tell me how much you spent." "Not much," Chin Mo replied. It really wasn't much, and for Chin Mo, it was just a drop in the bucket. Qin Fuwa rolled his eyes at Qin Mo and said irritably, "So, it can't be returned, right?" "Yes." Qin Mo nodded with a grin. Seeing him like this, Qin Fuwa sighed helplessly again and muttered, "Just spend it. Let's see how you manage later. Your second aunt and the others aren't planning to talk to you anymore. I wonder how you'll manage after this." After saying this, Qin Fuwa got up and tidied up, seemingly not intending to speak to Qin Mo anymore. It seemed like no one in the village wanted to talk to Qin Mo. If someone didn't know better, they might think Qin Mo was quite unwelcome. It was truly absurd. Chapter 44. It's unreasonable not to go crazy. Qin Mo indeed felt a bit unwelcome. In the eyes of the elders and folks in Qin family village, if he spent money on himself, it would be no problem at all. But spending money on these old folks made them unhappy. Very unhappy. The elders of Qin family village were not pleased. They wished that every penny Qin Mo had was his own. However, these old folks had no idea how much money Qin Mo earned back from what he spent on them. The rewards from the system compared to the money spent were like heaven and earth. Let's not talk about that for now. After Qin Mo and Qin Fuwa settled the matter, Qin Fuwa got up and found a group of elders to explain the situation. Xiao Mo bought us a simple bathroom, with a toilet and everything. We can even take a shower, and it has solar energy installed. However, after Qin Fuwa said this, the elders of Qin family village couldn't hold back anymore. They kept spending money. What about the bathroom? Why couldn't he use the outdoor toilet? The waste could still be used to fertilize the land. Oh, this kid. They looked so agitated, as if they were ready to criticize him openly. Qin Mo smiled as he watched these elderly folks. Just as he was about to speak, third uncle quickly interjected, "Don't say anything. Don't talk to him. Be careful not to say something he might hear." Right. From now on we won't say anything, at most just this once." Exactly. What surprised Qin Mo was that they really weren't going to talk to him anymore. Not a single person was willing to speak up. Just then, a large truck arrived once again in Qin family village. The bathroom was being delivered. Installing the bathroom was a bit more complicated than installing an air conditioner. They had to dig a pit, pre-bury the septic tank, and connect the solar panels. According to the workers, it would take at least 3 days to finish. Hearing this, the elderly folks complained. They don't even know how to use it. What's the point of it all? Their complaints clearly reflected their discontent with Qin Mo spending money. The delivery person pretended not to hear and quickly asked, "Boss, where should we start the installation?" Before Qin Mo could respond, the elders of Qin family village pointed at him, saying, "Start with him. Install this first. He paid for it. You just said your new house is almost done. What do you need this for?" Listening to these remarks, Qin Mo smiled wryly and said, "Well, let's start with mine then." In no time, they began digging, burying, and connecting the pipes. After a long while, Qin Mo's simple bathroom was finally completed. Overall, he was quite satisfied. At least he wouldn't have to run to the outdoor toilet for a while. Plus, with the solar panels, he wouldn't have to draw water to heat for washing his face and other needs. He even tested it out. It worked well. Seeing this scene, the elders of Qin family village whispered among themselves, "Little Mo is thoughtful. This bathroom is indeed very convenient. But how much did it cost him? Keep it down. Don't let Little Mo hear." It seemed they were trying to keep their thoughts from Qin Mo. It was obvious to see that while it was good, the elders of Qin family village absolutely couldn't praise Qin Mo. If they praised him, he might spend more money again, which they couldn't afford. Of course, these elders were still moved and appreciative. Just behind Qin Mo's back, this bathroom could actually fit a washing machine. There would be absolutely no problem. Although it was called a simple bathroom, it was actually the same as any regular bathroom. The only difference was one was pre-made and the other was self-installed. If you have any questions in the future, feel free to contact us. Which place should we install next? Qin Mo spoke up. Just next door? Uncle Fu said. Next door was Qin Fuwa's house. Qin Fuwa opened the door. The installation workers quickly got busy again. After the first installation was completed, the rest went much more smoothly. From digging the pit to the installation, progress was rapid. In fact, after most of the work was done, they left one person there to connect the pipes and headed straight to the next house. At this rate, it would take no more than 3 days. The dry toilets in Qin family village were now completely useless. Of course, the installation of the bathrooms made life easier for the villagers and also saved Qin Mo some money. After the bathroom in Qin Fuwa's house was completed, a notification sound echoed in Qin Mo's mind once again. Ding! The host has contributed to the villagers by installing a simple bathroom for Qin Fuwa, earning a cash reward of 500,000. When another bathroom was installed, the notification sounded again. Ding! The host has contributed to the villagers, earning a reward of longevity. In the following time, the system's notification sounds kept ringing in Qin Mo's mind. It's worth mentioning that Qin Mo didn't understand how the system calculated these rewards. When installing air conditioning, they installed them one by one in each house, but only received the system's reward after all were completed. However, when installing bathrooms, they received a reward for each one installed, which was puzzling. Nonetheless, Qin Mo had a guess. The system might calculate based on time. As long as the overall contribution could be completed in a short time, it counted as one reward. If it took longer, it would be counted individually. Of course, this wasn't really important. Whether counted as one or multiple times, the total rewards were similar. Moreover, with multiple rewards, there might even be a higher chance of obtaining good items. For example, right now, the system's reward made Qin Mo very excited. Longevity. According to the system, this meant that under natural aging conditions, he could live at least to 100 years old. This thrilled Qin Mo. Great. Before turning 100, he didn't have to worry about aging. After all, people who live to 100 are truly rare. Of course, this reward didn't mean that he would die at 100. It meant he definitely wouldn't die before 100. And what happened after that would depend on his own resilience. Besides this reward, not counting the cash rewards, Qin Mo also received a substantial reward. After installing the bathroom for his second grandmother's house, the system directly rewarded him with 100 kilograms of luxury goods. That's right. While others counted luxury items by pieces, the system rewarded luxury goods by kilograms. 100 kilograms of luxury goods. When Qin Mo quietly claimed the reward, the entire room was filled to the brim. Among these luxury items, there are bags, jewelry, and clothing, encompassing various brands. There are styles for both men and women, ranging from expensive to affordable. Honestly, any girl who sees this would be hard-pressed not to go crazy. Chapter 45. This property management is so thoughtful whose luxury goods are priced by the kilogram? That's how the system operates. Qin Mo isn't particularly interested in luxury items, but that's not important. What matters is that these luxury items are worth a significant amount of money. As for money, before Qin Mo planned to rebuild the houses in Qin Family Village, he didn't feel short on funds. However, once he had the thought of building houses for the elderly villagers, he suddenly felt that money was a bit tight. Fortunately, Qin Mo doesn't feel financially strained now. There's still an office building in the city center of Danyang. For Qin Mo, if it comes down to it, he could sell the office building. Surely that would be enough to build houses, right? What a ridiculous thought. How much is an office building worth? Building houses isn't that simple either. Of course, selling the office building rewarded by the system might seem a bit like killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. After all, just having the building there and collecting rent can bring in a decent amount of money over the year. But for Qin Mo, it doesn't matter. If someone else sells an office building, it's like eating through their savings. However, if Qin Mo sells the office building and uses the proceeds to continue giving back to the villagers, it would lead to even more rewards from the system. Moreover, the rewards from the system are all related to Danyang. Qin Mo really doesn't have the time to manage these. For Qin Mo, as long as there is one villager left in Qin Family Village, he cannot leave. If he were to leave, how would he complete the system tasks? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that keeping the office building was unnecessary. Not just the office building, but even the villa was the same. At the same time, the money in his account made Qin Mo feel a bit anxious about the shortfall for building houses. As a result, the next day, after thinking it over, Qin Mo drove straight to Danyang, while others in Qin Family Village were still installing bathrooms. After 2 hours, he arrived in Danyang and directly approached a real estate agent to list the office building for sale. Mr. Qin, rest assured, if anyone is interested in purchasing, we will definitely contact you at the first opportunity. As Qin Mo left, the agent was so excited that they walked him to the door. After all, an office building is a serious business. If this deal goes through, it would be quite significant. It's understandable why Qin Mo was in such a hurry to list the office building, mainly because he knew that selling such an office building wouldn't happen overnight. The sooner he listed it for sale, the better. It would be better to find a buyer sooner, so that when the time comes to build houses, there won't be any financial issues. Of course, listing the property doesn't mean it must be sold right away. Qin Mo has also made plans. By the time he is ready to build houses for the elders in Qin Village, he should have enough funds. If necessary, he can withdraw the listing. Keeping the office building later wouldn't be a problem either, especially since the system offers various cash rewards. Who knows? The funds to give back to the elders of Qin Village during this time might be sufficient. It's wise to have a backup plan. Qin Mo tends to be meticulous in his endeavors. Speaking of which, now that he is here, Qin Mo hasn't forgotten to visit his own villa. Following the address, he immediately realized that his villa was definitely not cheap. He wasn't very familiar with Danyang City, as his previous work location was not here. He initially thought that a villa would be located in a somewhat remote area, but to his surprise, when he arrived, he found it was situated right in the city center. In the center of Danyang City, there is a lake that has been transformed into a park. However, not all areas of the lake are open to the public. The villa community he is in occupies half of the lake's area, and it is also adjacent to a small hill. With both a mountain and a lake, this villa community is truly a peaceful retreat in the bustling city. Given this geographical location and environment, one can only imagine the price of properties in this area. What Qin Mo didn't know was that his villa is among the top-tier properties in Danyang City. Not only is the location prime, but the price is also among the highest, making it quite an expensive property. When Qin Mo entered the villa community, even though he was driving an A8, he was still stopped by the security guard at the entrance, who politely inquired about his purpose. The guard focused on the license plate rather than the car itself, only recognizing individuals. Even after Qin Mo identified himself as the owner, the guard, while apologizing repeatedly, still requested proof or offered to verify it themselves. Although he didn't judge by appearance, he took his responsibilities seriously. Once it was confirmed that Qin Mo was indeed the legitimate owner, the guard apologized again while allowing him entry into the villa community. Upon entering, Qin Mo couldn't help but admire the quality of service provided by the property management. When he stepped into his own villa, he had prepared himself for a shell condition, but he was pleasantly surprised by the system's thoughtful touch. The house was completely furnished with exquisite decorations, and everything was brand new. The materials used were top-notch, which made him genuinely happy. It was clear that the system did not skimp on rewards. Additionally, the villa was impressively spacious, with over a dozen rooms along with other functional spaces. It truly lived up to being several hundred square meters in size. It has reached this level directly. The house that Qin Mo saw was quite satisfactory. He had made up his mind. The office building could be sold, but the villa definitely could not. It had to be kept for personal use. Even if he didn't stay there often, it still needed to be kept. After checking the house and ensuring that all the utilities in the villa were turned off, Qin Mo finally left the villa area. Before leaving, the property manager approached him. Mr. Qin, could you please come to the property management office to register your information? Next time you come back, the security will not stop you. Additionally, I noticed that you haven't lived here for long, and the house has been vacant. If needed, we can help with repairs to the villa and maintain the greenery in front and behind while you're away. Hearing this, Qin Mo was pleasantly surprised by the attentiveness of the property management. He immediately replied, "Okay, thank you for your help." After sorting this out, Qin Mo quickly returned to Qin Family Village. During the journey, several system notification sounds echoed in his mind. A few more simple toilets had been installed in Qin Family Village, and Qin Mo received several system rewards. Chapter 46. Knowing the system is generous. I didn't expect it to be this generous. This time, the rewards were not particularly remarkable, mostly cash rewards. There wasn't much to say about it. Of course, although there wasn't much to discuss, it didn't hinder the balance in Qin Mo's bank account from becoming significantly richer again. The scenery along the way was nothing special. Danyang City was decent, but the scenery was a bit lacking. After about 2 hours, Qin Mo returned to Qin Family Village once more. Notably, while he was on his way back, he was still thinking about whether he should bring something back since he had made the trip to Danyang City. He pondered what the villagers in Qin Family Village might need. However, after thinking in circles, he couldn't come up with anything to bring back. So he simply gave up on the idea. Upon returning to Qin Family Village, Qin Mo found Qin Fugua and asked, "Uncle Fugua, how many have been installed? How many are left?" Qin Fugua replied, "Almost done, there aren't many left. If we can't finish this afternoon, we will definitely complete it by tomorrow." After saying this, Qin Fugua looked at Qin Mo cautiously and asked, "Where did you go?" Qin Mo responded, "I went to Danyang City to check out some houses." "Did you go to see the villa?" "Yes. You didn't buy anything on the way back, right?" Qin Mo understood where Qin Fugua's caution came from. It seemed he was worried that Qin Mo would arrange something for Qin Family Village during his trip. Qin Mo couldn't help but chuckle and said, "No, I didn't buy anything. I just want to take a look." Upon hearing this, Qin Fugua finally breathed a sigh of relief. That's good, that's good. His reaction made Qin Mo smile wryly. There's a feeling of trying to prevent something, similar to guarding against thieves. In a flash, Qin Mo went to the installation site to take a look. Indeed, not much was left. The bathroom had already been installed in Song Chuamei's house. A group of elderly people were still there watching the excitement, whether their homes had been done or not. Wherever the installation went, the elderly followed, even more diligent than the workers themselves. This wasn't too surprising. The villagers were mostly older and had little to do, so they wanted to watch the commotion to pass the time, also acting as unofficial supervisors. Of course, not all the elderly folks were idle. Take Qin Jianjun, for example. He was absent. Most likely, he had gone out to cut grass for the sheep. A group of elderly was chatting animatedly before Qin Mo arrived, even asking the installation workers various questions. However, after Qin Mo appeared, Granny Qi immediately fell silent, not uttering a word. It wasn't just her. Upon seeing Qin Mo from a distance, she quickly gestured for the other elderly to quiet down. As a result, all the elderly turned to look at Qin Mo and chose to remain silent. Seeing this scene, the installation workers couldn't help but laugh. "Boss, they were chatting lively before you came. After you arrived, everyone went quiet. They must be trying to avoid you. I heard you even bought pig feed for the village. We're from the countryside too, and our village doesn't have someone like you." Exactly. You earn money and are good to the villagers, one of the workers remarked. However, an elderly woman nearby grumbled, what is so good about it? It's all just wasteful spending. He is not even married. And he is spending money on us without saving. Hearing this complaint, the installation worker sighed. Our village doesn't have such promising young people. Nor do we have elderly like you. If someone from our place did what this boss does, they'd probably be criticized while taking things, calling them a fool behind their back. With the boss being so generous, they'd probably even scold him for not giving more. This atmosphere in Chin Family Village was something the worker hadn't seen before. Out there, if you didn't take advantage of an opportunity, people would think you were foolish. Similarly, Chin Mo's act of giving back to the villagers would likely be seen as foolish too. And there would definitely be people asking for various things. If you didn't give, the principle of a favor leads to a grudge was never rare. Listening to the workers, Chin Mo approached and smiled. I lost my parents at a young age. Every family in our village has helped me out. I've eaten at every home, worn clothes from every household, and when I had no money, the welfare funds were given to me. So what is wrong with that? The installation workers listened to Chin Mo's words, their eyes wide open. Just then, Old Man Sen looked at Chin Mo and spoke. Are you out again after saying all that useless stuff? You went to a certain city. As soon as these words came out of Chin Mo's mouth, the elderly people around him looked at him warily. You didn't bring anything back, did you? This question caused the wushak that had just appeared on Chin Fu's face to reappear on Chin Mo's face. I didn't buy anything. I came back empty-handed. That's good, that's good. Chin Mo said with a mix of amusement and helplessness. But why are you all so defensive against me? The group of elderly people exchanged glances with Chin Mo but didn't say a word. However, their meaning was quite clear. This made the workers installing the equipment even happier. The installation work was progressing quickly. Before long, by the end of the day, there were only 3 or 5 bathrooms left to install in the village. By tomorrow, they would be able to finish everything. During this time, Chin Mo also received quite a few rewards, all sorts of strange things. Of course, the most common reward was cash. If this continued, Chin Mo would really have no shortage of cash. There would even be no need to sell the office building. Interestingly, the system rewarded Chin Mo with 10 kilograms of gold. Yes, gold, 10 kilograms of it. Each shiny gold bar was dazzling and felt heavy in his hands. And what does 10 kilograms of gold mean? According to current gold prices, over 400 per gram. A kilogram is 1,000 grams. So 10 kilograms equals 10,000 grams. That amounts to over 4 million. What a concept. Chin Mo knew the system was generous. But he didn't expect it to be this generous. Why sell the office building? At this rate, with just a couple more rewards, he wouldn't have to worry about money at all. If he hadn't just returned from a certain city, Chin Mo would have thought about taking down the listing for the office building. He realized he was a bit too hasty. However, it didn't matter. If the price was right, he could still sell it. After all, even if he gathered enough money to build a house, once the house was built, he would have nothing left. Chapter 47. This won't do. 10 kilograms of gold made Chin Mo very satisfied. That heavy feeling gave a sense of security. Of course, after feeling this weight, Chin Mo quickly put the gold away at home. At this moment, he felt the necessity of building a house. Otherwise, his old house was already small. With rewards like this from the system, which could easily be measured in kilograms, one day his old house might not be able to hold all these things. It wouldn't even fit in the house. It's fair to say that Chin Mo was really thinking ahead. However, this wasn't an exaggeration at all. Besides the 10 kilograms of gold, there were also 100 kilograms of luxury goods. If the system continued to reward him with more items weighing several kilograms over time, he would indeed find himself in a tight spot. The next day, the faces of the elders in Chin Family Village were beaming with joy. All the toilets in the village had been installed, although many villagers had criticized Chin Mo for this installation. It must be said that after experiencing the benefits of having a toilet over the past few days, the villagers were quite happy about it. With just a flush, there was no smell at all. Especially in the morning when washing up, hot water would be ready in no time, which was much more convenient than boiling water themselves. The best part was being able to take a shower at home. Who would have thought that one day they could shower in their own home? Yes, the installation of the toilets was really thoughtful of Chin Mo. A group of elderly villagers excitedly discussed the usefulness of the toilets. However, isn't that the main purpose of a toilet? What was there to talk about? Little did they know. For the elders in Chin Family Village who had never used such a thing before, this was already something remarkable. Just the topic of where to turn on the hot water could keep them chatting for half a day. From a distance, Chin Mo saw the elders chatting happily, and a smile couldn't help but appear on his face. As long as it was useful, it meant he was doing something practical for the villagers. Chin Mo also felt genuinely pleased. In a moment, he planned to join the lively conversation, but as he approached, the elders noticed him, and suddenly the cheerful atmosphere fell silent. Seeing this scene, Chin Mo felt disheartened. He thought the villagers wouldn't really ignore him. After 2 days, they still wouldn't speak to him? He couldn't help but feel a mix of amusement and frustration. Have you had breakfast, Granny Chi? Did you feed the pigs? Uncle San? Chin Mo asked repeatedly, but the elders just turned their heads, not a single one willing to respond. At this point, Chin Mo truly felt helpless. Well then, I'm leaving, he said helplessly and awkwardly walked away. As soon as he left, the group of elders buzzed with excitement again, whispering to each other. Oh, just now. Xiaomo talked to me, and I almost couldn't help but answer. I almost spoke too. Thankfully, I kept quiet. It's better not to talk to him. The more we say, the more mistakes we make. Who knows what trouble he might get into with our words. Exactly. We definitely can't let him waste our money again. Wow, the precautions against Chin Mo have reached this level. Of course, some elders couldn't help but say, isn't this a bit too much? We can't just ignore Chin Mo, right? Won't that make him uncomfortable? If we don't talk to him, will he get angry? As soon as these words were spoken, the elders started discussing among themselves. It's not that we don't want to talk to him. What if we accidentally say something wrong? Let's avoid speaking to him for a couple of days and wait until he behaves. We're doing this for his own good. He has some money. Isn't it better for him to keep it for himself? Spending it on us would be a waste. Although the bathroom is nice and the elders enjoy using it. Even at this point, they are still calculating how much money spent on the bathroom could have been saved for Chin Mo. If that money had gone towards the new house, just think of how many bathrooms could be installed. With this thought, the elders felt they were at a loss. Feeling it was a waste. At their age, what can't they endure? This is the simplest mindset of the elders. Whether or not there is a bathroom, it doesn't really matter. When it comes to being ignored, Chin Mo didn't mind. In his own words, he couldn't believe no one would talk to him for a couple of days. He felt he had completely grasped the elders of Chin family village. If they could hold out for 2 days, could they hold out for 5? However, Chin Mo had to admit that this time he underestimated the elders. Another day passed, and not a single person spoke to him. This made Chin Mo anxious. It wasn't that no one was talking to him that bothered him, but rather that he couldn't think of anything to do for the villagers. As a result, he couldn't even proceed with his task. Chin Mo thought about what the villagers might be lacking, but he just couldn't figure it out. Could this not make him anxious? Other matters could be discussed, but not being able to get the system rewards was a bit uncomfortable. Previously, when the elders spoke, it would spark his ideas. Whatever they mentioned, he could think of something to arrange right away. But now, he felt anxious, thinking, what can I do? I just can't think of anything. The elders remained silent, making Chin Mo feel that this wasn't right. Just then, as Chin Mo was pondering, the dog in Chin family village barked at him a few times and then wagged its tail, looking for affection. Chin Mo raised his hand and petted the dog's head. There are fewer young people in Chin family village, so many dogs are kept. But basically, the dogs in the village are very friendly towards Chin Mo. Even if they were just fed this year and hadn't seen him in previous years, they still recognized him because of the older dogs. Chin Mo was playing with his dog, and soon enough, other dogs gathered around, wagging their tails and begging for food. Suddenly, an idea popped into Chin Mo's mind. Chapter 48. 300 or 500 is not too little. Chin Mo thought, these dogs also belong to the village. If he spent some money on the dogs, could it be considered as giving back to the village? If that were the case, it would be fantastic. With this thought, Chin Mo felt a surge of excitement, as if he had found a way forward. Let us go play, he said, pulling out his car keys and getting into the car. Before long, the car left the village. It was the only black car in Chinjia village, very noticeable. As soon as the car exited the village, the elderly people noticed it immediately. Soon enough, news of Chin Mo leaving the village spread quickly. Little Mo has gone out again. Who knows what he is up to? Did anyone talk to him? No one did. That's fine then. He probably has his own things to do. In no time, Chin Mo arrived at the town. He planned to find a pet store to buy some dog food, but after circling around, he realized there were no pet stores in town. This was unexpected. It wasn't strange though. The town wasn't an economic hub. Most villages like Chinjia village relied on farming for a living. In the countryside, dogs ate what their owners ate, and if people didn't eat it, neither did the dogs. Moreover, dogs were rarely tied up. They roamed freely unless they were particularly aggressive, in which case they might be leashed or chained. This was the norm for raising dogs in such areas. So there was no need for pet stores. If there was an issue, people would go directly to a veterinarian, and some even ignored their pets altogether. Therefore, it was normal for the town to lack pet stores. Left with no choice, Chin Mo drove to the county town. Once he arrived, finding a pet store was easy. He casually found one and quickly bought a large amount of dog food, loading it into the car. Afterward, he drove back. The time taken to go from Chinjia village to the county and back was not long. He even stopped to refuel along the way. When he returned home and unloaded the dog food from the car, the dogs that had been wandering around the village were nowhere to be seen. However, they were easy to locate. From a distance, he called out, "Erhu." The dog perked up its ears and, seeing Chin Mo from afar, happily ran over. As it approached, a group of dogs followed suit. "Good boy. Chin Mo smiled as he petted the dog's head again. A group of dogs wagged their tails once again, looking quite happy. The elderly folks hiding from Chin Mo were wondering, is Xiao Mo back? He's back. Did he buy anything? I didn't see anything. So what is he doing? Nothing, just playing with the dogs. That's fine, that's fine. At this moment, Chin Mo was playing with the dogs for a while. Soon, he brought out a few bowls and placed them on the ground. He also picked up a bag of dog food. With a swift motion, he poured it into the bowls. Seeing the food, the dogs' eyes lit up. They wagged their tails furiously and made whining sounds. The dogs raised in the countryside had quite a few rules. Perhaps it was because the elderly folks were strict with them, not hearing any commands. The dogs were anxious but dared not approach the food. Seeing this, Chin Mo said, "Go ahead and eat." As soon as he said this, the dogs rushed in. Their heads dove into the bowls, and they began to chow down. The dog food tasted incredibly good to them. For well-fed dogs, dog food might not seem appealing. But for these dogs in Chin family village, the food the elderly people gave them was just average. They had never eaten dog food before. To these dogs, this dog food was as good as a feast. They went wild with excitement. These dogs couldn't even behave while eating. Some were running around in circles. The dogs that were squeezed out were not happy. The once united pack of dogs in Chin family village nearly ended up fighting. Seeing this, Chin Mo couldn't help but scold them. Only then did the dogs settle down. However, just when the dogs were happily eating, a notification sound echoed in Chin Mo's mind. Ding! Host rewards the villagers by feeding Chin Huailin's pet dog, earning a cash reward of 300 yuan. Ding! Host rewards the villagers by feeding Chin Huailin's pet dog, earning a cash reward of 300 yuan. Hearing the system's notifications, Chin Mo was overjoyed. He was right. Spending money on the dogs counted as a way to give back. Even if the rewards were a bit small, he still received something. Seeing that the dogs seemed a little hungry, Chin Mo poured out some more dog food. Eat, eat. Just make sure you don't overeat. You can eat as much as you want. 300 or 500 is not too much. But Chin Mo didn't mind at all. At that moment, he was extremely happy. Of course, while Chin Mo was happy, it led to a certain outcome. By noon, when the elderly folks finished their meal and remembered to feed the dogs, Chin Huai exclaimed in confusion. Usually, when he tossed a bun out, his dogs would swallow it in a couple of bites and still seem unsatisfied. But now, when he threw a bun out, the dogs merely sniffed it and lazily walked away. Clearly, they were indifferent. It wasn't just Chin Huai. Chin Huailin, Chin Huai, and Chin Wenjuan are all the same. Faced with the offered food, none of them seemed to have any spirit left. After lunch, these elderly folks gathered together. Our Eru is quite strange. I fed it steamed buns at noon, and it didn't eat. That reminds me, my racing cat is the same. So is my dog. Could it be sick? No way. It looks quite lively to me. But if it were sick, how could all these dogs behave the same way? Can they all be sick together? Maybe they just aren't hungry, or they ate well outside. That's possible. At this moment, someone recalled something. Could it be that Xiao Mo fed them? I saw him playing with the dogs this morning. That might be it. The elderly folks in Chin village didn't take it seriously. However, by evening, the dog still refused to eat. Even the next morning, the dog ran out. This made the elderly folks a bit restless. Chapter 49. If it doesn't spend on the dog, it's spending on you, right? When their own dog ran out at mealtime, eager to leave. It was hard for the elderly folks in Chin village not to notice. In the countryside, elderly folks usually have little to do, especially in winter, when they are even more idle. Plus, older people generally have no entertainment. Any little stir in the village is known to everyone. Not to mention, their own dog was behaving unusually. It was impossible for them to ignore it. As a result, some elderly folks decided to go take a look. One person went out and met others. They greeted each other. Where are you going? I'm going to find my dog. It's been acting strange lately, running out without eating breakfast. What a coincidence. Our dog is the same. Are they heading out together? They wouldn't be eating something strange outside, would they? Let's go check it out. Before long, a group of elderly folks had formed. In a flash, they were heading in the direction the dog ran off to, chatting excitedly. They hadn't even seen the dog yet when they heard a series of barks, as if it was leading the way. Hearing the barking, the elderly folks understood. Oh, it's running towards Xiao Mo. I wondered what was going on with this dog. But why is it going to Xiao Mo? It must be because Xiao Mo fed it. Then we won't look for it anymore. Why does Xiao Mo, who usually gets ignored, enjoy playing with dogs? The elderly folks simply thought it was curious. What did Xiao Mo feed them? The dog hasn't eaten at home for days. Let us check it out. If everything is fine, we want to go into Xiao Mo's house. We should be careful not to ask too many questions. Yes, we must be careful. Otherwise, if we slip up, it will be troublesome. They were even cautious about Chin Mo, which left them speechless. A group of elderly men and women gathered in front of Chin Mo's house. They tiptoed to peek through the crack in the door and quickly figured out what was happening inside. They saw a bunch of dogs with their heads buried in a bowl, eating heartily. Occasionally, the dogs would playfully bark at each other, displaying various behaviors. Meanwhile, in the yard, as the dogs were enjoying their meal, They could hear Chin Mo's voice saying, "Slow down. No one is competing with you. I'll get you some more." Moments later, Chin Mo came out carrying a bag. He opened the bag and poured the dog food into the bowl. The elderly onlookers were somewhat bewildered by this scene. One of them asked, "What is Xiao Mo feeding the dogs? Why is it in a bag?" Another replied, "Why don't you ask him?" "Oh, forget it." Hearing this whispered conversation, the third elder, who was quite knowledgeable, turned around and said, "Dog food. People in the city don't feed their dogs buns. They all eat this kind of dog food. It's not cheap. It costs as much as rice and flour." Qin Huai didn't quite understand all this, but guessed. He must have said it because he thinks these city folks are really extravagant in raising dogs. The other elders chimed in. "Isn't this better than what people eat? Why did Xiao Mo even think of buying dog food for them? Maybe it's because no one talks to him, and he has nothing to do. Is he spending money that should be on us on the dogs instead?" Surprisingly, they were right. This led to more chatter among the elderly. "Isn't this wasting money? Dogs can eat just about anything." One elder commented, "Do we really need to buy dog food? It doesn't cost much for a pound of grain." Hearing this, the third elder said, "Then go tell him not to buy it, not to feed them." As soon as Qin Huai said this, he continued, "If you don't let Xiao Mo buy dog food, he'll just end up spending that money on you." The elder who was initially going to persuade Qin Mo suddenly paused. Even though he was older, he understood the reasoning. How much could be spent on the dogs? How much would it cost if it were spent on them? Qin Mo often spent money on things like air conditioning, bathrooms, and installing streetlights. Forget it. Let him feed the dogs. People in the city do it this way. It's fine for us too. If he wants to buy dog food, let him. How much can he really spend on the dogs? If you don't let him feed them, he'll just think of ways to spend on us instead. Spending a few thousand on dog food is nothing compared to what he would spend on us. In that moment, the elders of Qin family village collectively gave in. Afterward, they decided to leave. "All right, let us go?" "Yes, let him feed them well. After all, they guard the house, and if they eat well, they'll work harder." With that, the group of elderly men and women turned around and left. Qin Mo seemed to sense some movement outside the door. However, no one knocked, so he didn't pay much attention. When the village dogs were finally full, Qin Mo opened the door to let them out, and he stepped outside as well. As soon as he did, the dogs eagerly followed him. His presence was instantly highlighted by the pack of dogs around him, making anyone who saw them feel a bit intimidated. The key was that these dogs were obedient. Qin Mo called out, "Go play," and the dogs immediately ran off joyfully. Once the dogs were gone, Qin Mo couldn't help but think. This time, he had fed the dogs and received rewards from the system. Although it was the same as yesterday, with rewards of 300 and 500, it still brought him joy. The rewards for feeding the dogs turned out not to be a one-time deal. If he spent a bit more on the dogs, wouldn't the rewards come again? This thought sparked in Qin Mo's mind. A dog passed by him, wagging its tail for attention. Qin Mo noticed that this dog's fur was long enough to cover its eyes. He recognized it as belonging to the second aunt. She had chosen the wrong dog. It was a mixed breed with long fur, which was not ideal for rural living, where local breeds were preferred. Seeing this dog made Qin Mo smile. "That fur needs a trim." He mumbled to himself before taking out his phone. After a few taps, he made a call. "Hello, can you give a dog a bath?" "Hello, this is a pet shop. We can do that. I have quite a few dogs. We can wash as many as you have." Hearing this, Qin Mo felt relieved. In no time, he pulled out his phone again and called for a small delivery truck. Before long, a small truck arrived in the village. Chapter 50. Where else can I spend this money? The arrival of the small truck immediately caught the attention of the elderly residents of Qin family village. Their first reaction upon seeing the truck was, "Oh no, has Xiao Mo bought something again?" But then they noticed it seemed to be empty. An empty truck? Oh, then it's fine. As long as it's not carrying anything, we don't have to worry. The villagers relaxed their vigilance, but were still puzzled. What could this small truck be doing in our village? It must be called by Xiao Mo. Is he picking something up? Who knew? The truck driver drove straight to Qin Mo's doorstep. Upon seeing Qin Mo, he asked, "Boss, what do you need to load?" The driver seemed confused, as he hadn't checked the notes when taking the order. Qin Mo replied, "Dogs." The driver was momentarily stunned. "Dogs? Do you really need this truck for that?" Just then, Qin Mo shouted, "Eru." At this shout, a chorus of barking erupted. A large group of dogs, both big and small, came running over joyfully. The truck driver was startled by the sight. With so many dogs around, getting bitten was definitely not a good thing. He quickly climbed into the cab. The pack of dogs approached and stared at the driver for a moment, barking a couple of times. Qin Mo scolded them, "Stop barking." As soon as he spoke, the dogs quieted down, no longer showing their teeth. At this moment, Qin Mo smiled at the truck driver and said, "Could you please open the cargo door? I'll call them up. They won't bite, right? Don't worry, I'll make sure they don't." The driver got out of the truck and opened the cargo door again. Qin Mo shouted to the dogs, "Up, up." They didn't seem to understand anything else. But as soon as he finished speaking, Eru jumped right up. Once on the truck, he wagged his tail excitedly at Qin Mo seeing this. The larger dogs followed suit and jumped up as well. The smaller ones, however, were a bit anxious as they struggled to hop up. Chin Mo picked each of them up and placed them inside, then shut the door. Once the door was securely closed, the driver turned to Chin Mo to confirm the address. Wong Wong Pet Store, right? In the city? Yes. Are you following me in your car, or what? That's perfect. Just keep an eye on the dogs in the back to make sure they don't jump out. After confirming, the driver started the truck and Chin Mo followed behind. At first, the dogs in the truck were anxious and restless, wanting to jump out. But when they saw Chin Mo's car following closely, they settled down. Even so, Chin Mo was still worried about them falling out. He thought to himself that he should have taken a box truck. However, it was precisely because of this that once they left the village, the elderly folks of Chin Family Village could see clearly. What was in the truck? Dogs. Oh no, Xiao Mo has taken all the dogs from our village. What is he going to do? He wouldn't be selling them, would he? Nonsense, why would Xiao Mo sell dogs? So what is he doing then? Who knows? The entire village's dogs were taken by Chin Mo in one sweep. At that moment, the elderly villagers were left bewildered. It wasn't too long before the truck arrived at the pet store. Once inside, the first thing Chin Mo did was buy a bunch of dog leashes and put one on each dog. This wasn't the countryside. In the countryside, dogs could run around freely. While the truck was moving, they wouldn't jump out. But now that the truck was stopped, if the dogs started running around, it would be a hassle. Fortunately, since it was the first time for these rural dogs to come to the city, they were a bit cautious. Although they were observing everything around them, they didn't bark or jump out of the truck. They behaved quite well, which was reassuring. After that, things became much simpler. Seeing that Chin Mo brought so many dogs in for baths and grooming, the staff at the pet store quickly got to work. This is the first time I've seen so many dogs come in for a bath. I've truly opened my eyes. Of course, what makes me happier is that I've made some money. It's also thanks to the spacious pet shop. Otherwise, washing these dogs would not be an easy task. The next steps were much simpler. Chin Mo was just waiting there. He didn't let the small truck leave either, since the dogs still needed to be taken back later. One by one, the dogs were brought out clean and tidy. Aside from the chaos during the bathing process, these originally scruffy dogs looked completely different after their wash and grooming. They all seemed much more spirited, which made Chin Mo quite satisfied. These dogs were finally not dirty anymore. During this time, Chin Mo also got interested and started looking at the pet supplies in the shop. He bought dog beds, dog food, and whatever else he could. He even bought clothes for the dogs. Of course, there was so much stuff that they couldn't fit it all in. Plus, the pet shop didn't have everything in stock and needed to restock. The shop owner was very accommodating. I'll deliver it to your home tomorrow, he said. I live in the countryside, it's no problem. The pet shop owner was quite considerate, mainly because he was making money. Once everything was settled, a group of dogs was almost done with their baths. During this time, the notification sound in Chin Mo's mind kept ringing. Ding! The rewards were nothing extraordinary, mainly cash rewards. Washing one dog earned him at least 1 to 2,000, and up to 3 to 5,000 for more. There were also some rewards like new smartphones and computers. Of course, compared to the rewards Chin Mo received before, these were nothing much. However, if it were someone else, earning this much just for washing dogs would be a crazy profit. After all, a phone could cost several thousand. Overall, Chin Mo wasn't particularly greedy. He was quite happy with the rewards he received. In no time, he got back in the car for the return trip. By the time Chin Mo arrived at Chin Family Village, it was still light out. At the village entrance, the small truck stopped, and all the dogs were let out. Now that they were in the village, the dogs could roam freely. However, when the dogs were let down and started to frolic, the elderly residents of Chin Family Village were left in shock. Is this my dog? Did they get a haircut? Did they really get a bath? Wow, it's shining. Wait, my dog is white. Just from these remarks, it was clear how dirty the dogs had been before. At that moment, the group of elderly folks couldn't hold back any longer. Little Mo, what did you do with the dogs? They had been told not to talk to Chin Mo. Chin Mo smiled and replied, Oh, nothing much. I just took them for a bath. Gave them a trim. A little spa treatment. After all, these dogs work hard to guard the house. Chin Mo was just chatting away, and as he spoke, he added with a hint of melancholy. I can't help it. I have so much money, and there's nowhere else to spend it. It's not like anyone wants me to spend it on them, so I can only splurge. Chapter 51. This dog is dressed better than I am. Can you believe this? If this were said anywhere else, with the way Chin Mo talks, he would definitely get hit. The elderly folks from the nearby village shot him a disapproving glance. In no time, they began to scold him. Why are you wasting money like this? But Chin Mo responded to each of their comments. It's no big deal. Isn't it better to have a dog with something to eat? It's hard work to guard the house. How much money do you have to spend like this? A lot. It seems like I can't spend it all anytime soon. What is wrong with you, kid? What? Do you have any objections, Grandma? With every remark from the elderly, Chin Mo had a playful retort. He said all this with a smile. For a moment, the elderly folks were at a loss for how to deal with him. After Chin Mo left, they couldn't help but grumble. We didn't want him to spend money on us. Xiao Mo is just trying to annoy us. He wants to make us feel bad about spending money, so he can spend it on us. Isn't that right? He even talks in a way that gets on our nerves. I see it now. This kid just wants to spend money on us, but we won't agree. Fine, it's just a bath for the dog. Let him spend. Exactly. What is the big deal about spending money on a dog? They say the elderly become wise. The elderly folks from the village quickly saw through Qin Mo's little scheme. However, to be honest, Qin Mo didn't initially intend it that way. But seeing their reactions earlier made him laugh, so he just went along with it. The elderly folks from the village recognized Qin Mo's trick, but pretended not to care. It was just money spent on a dog, after all. However, in the blink of an eye, when the next day came, they could hardly hold back anymore. Boss, everything has been delivered. Take a look. Everything on this side is dog houses. Over here are dog bowls and so on. And this box is full of dog clothes, all right here. Don't worry, they're all suitable. When you said you wanted to buy clothes and give the dog a bath yesterday, we noted down the sizes. Is there anything else you need? The pet store owner delivered everything in a small truck, unloading the items for Qin Mo one by one. Seeing all these things made Qin Mo very satisfied. Of course, he spent quite a bit of money. He immediately said, "That's it. Let me transfer the money to you." Saying this, he transferred all the money to the pet store owner. The owner was delighted to receive the payment. Before leaving, he reminded Qin Mo, "All right, if there are any issues, just give me a call. I'll be on my way. Take care." Once the pet store owner left, Qin Mo began to get busy. In an instant, he called out Erhu. As soon as he shouted, all the dogs from Qin family village rushed over, wagging their tails and begging for attention. Now, when Qin Mo spoke to these dogs, it was even more effective than talking to the elderly. They were incredibly eager. Seeing that all the dogs were gathered around, Qin Mo started distributing items. "This dog bowl is yours, and this one is yours." The dogs were quite clever, immediately recognizing their own bowls. Right then and there, one dog picked up its bowl, clearly understanding that this was its own food dish. It was evident that both humans and dogs couldn't help but focus on their bowls. Some dogs even looked at the pot while eating from their bowls, noticing that others had larger bowls and wanting to snatch them. Suddenly, a whimpering sound erupted, and a fight broke out, only to be interrupted when Qin Mo kicked one of the dogs, bringing the chaos to an end. Distributing the bowls was just the beginning. Next, Qin Mo started trying clothes on the dogs. Dressing dogs was definitely a novel thing in Qin family village. During this time, the notification sounds in Qin Mo's mind kept ringing, and he frequently received system rewards. It was undeniable that buying these items for the dogs in Qin family village was a fantastic deal. However, while Qin Mo was happily collecting his rewards, the elderly villagers were watching with great concern. A truck had arrived to deliver goods, and this was something the elderly could hardly keep secret. As they watched the items being delivered to Qin Mo's home, their curiosity got the better of them. Of course, they were cautious, avoiding direct contact with Qin Mo. The front door was wide open, so they stood in the alley between two houses, peeking in. Before long, they saw that Qin Mo had bought dog bowls. Qin Huaiwen, with keen eyesight, was at the front. After seeing Qin Mo's actions, he quietly whispered to those behind him. The elderly villagers heard Qin Huaiwen's words and began to murmur among themselves. "Hey, did he really buy bowls for the dogs? That bowl looks nicer than my own." Qin Huaiwen then whispered again, "What is that?" "Oh, a doghouse. Qin Mo even bought a doghouse." The elderly villagers exclaimed, "Oh dear, what do they need that for? A bit of straw is enough for the dogs to sleep on. That mat looks softer than my bed." They were quick to compare their own comforts with those of the dogs. Qin Huaiwen stood on tiptoe to take another look into Qin Mo's home. In an instant, he exclaimed, "Oh my, hurry and call Fu Guo over. This kid Qin Mo has gone too far. He even bought clothes for the dogs." Upon hearing this, the group of elderly villagers immediately became anxious. "What? He is dressing the dogs? My goodness, this is something new and strange." The elderly people simply couldn't hold back any longer. A dog bowl is fine, a doghouse is acceptable, but dressing a dog? How could the elderly folks from Qin family village tolerate that? To them, it seemed like a sheer waste of money. No matter how rich one is, spending money like this group of elderly people had no idea. If this were in the city, dressing a dog would be completely normal, especially for those little dogs. They look so cute in clothes. Moreover, some dogs are not resistant to the cold. However, this situation shattered the elderly folks' understanding. In an instant, Qin Fuguo was called over, and none of the elderly folks were left behind. They all appeared in Qin Mo's yard. The next moment, they exclaimed, "What are you doing? Little Mo, you've gone too far. Oh my goodness, this dog is dressed better than I am." As they entered the yard, the chatter from the elderly folks began. Seeing this scene, Qin Mo, who was clearly aware of what was happening, smiled and asked, "Why are you all here?" Hearing Qin Mo's words, the elderly folks from Qin family village were quite displeased. "If we hadn't come, the dog would be going to bed already. You've dressed the dog. Little Mo, what were you thinking? Why buy clothes for a dog? How much money does that cost?" Faced with Qin Mo, The elderly folks began to scold him. It's not surprising they reacted this way. Dressing a dog not only exceeded their understanding, but was also, in their eyes, a complete waste of money. The clothes on the dog looked exquisite and clearly cost a lot. How much could 1 acre of wheat be worth compared to a few outfits for the dog from Chin family village? It was impossible for the elderly folks not to feel distressed. Of course, they didn't know that the Chin Mo they saw was just wasting money. In reality, Chin Mo had a system, and the rewards he received for spending on the dog were quite substantial. Hearing the elderly folks' complaints, Chin Mo couldn't help but say, "It's not much, just a little money." He understood the thoughts of the elderly folks from Chin family village. But just as they didn't know about his system, neither did they comprehend his intentions. Therefore, he continued with a smile, "I'm not short on this." He sighed again, "What can I do? I have so much money that I don't know where to spend it. I try spending on others, but they don't want it, and if I get blamed, I might as well take care of dogs." "Right, Grandma." Grandma shot Chin Mo an annoyed look. Being wise with age, she could tell Chin Mo's tone was a bit sarcastic. She helplessly turned to Chin Fugwa and said, "Fugwa, you tell him. This child doesn't listen at all. Not letting you waste money is for your own good." Seeing this scene, Chin Fugwa also stood up helplessly and then spoke to Chin Mo, "Little Mo. Your feeding the dogs is fine. Your third uncle has no objections. You even bought clothes for the dog?" Chin Mo shrugged his shoulders. Chin Fugwa continued, "Your second grandmother is right. Isn't this just wasting money?" After a pause, he added, "Actually, I know what you mean. You're saying this for my own good, to prevent me from wasting money. But I understand your thoughts. How about this, since everyone is here today, let's have a good talk to avoid you wasting money again. You don't want to be upset about it, do you?" Hearing this, Chin Mo couldn't help but smile. The old folks were finally getting anxious. This was the moment he had been waiting for. As soon as Chin Fugwa finished speaking, Chin Huai couldn't hold back and stepped up to speak first. "Let me ask you first, Xiao Mo, third master, why do you insist on spending money on us? Don't you think it's better to save some of that money?" "That's a good question, third master," Chin Mo replied. "I have money. I'm not exaggerating when I say I have a lot of money. You all know what kind of relationship we have. No need to elaborate. I'm not bragging. I really have a lot of money. What's wrong with spending a little on you?" His words left third master momentarily stunned. But soon, third master was eager to argue back. "What do you mean you have a lot of money? How much do you have? Is there really such a thing as money that can't be spent? Don't you know why we don't want you to waste money?" Chin Mo listened carefully. "I understand what you mean. I'm not married yet. So saving this little bit of money is not going to make a difference. There will be plenty of opportunities to spend money in the future." The elderly folks from Chin village nodded in agreement. That was exactly their point. They had previously thought about how Chin Mo didn't have a car. Then they thought about how he didn't have a house. And now they thought about how he didn't have a house in the village. Now he had a car, a house, and they believed construction in the village was underway. But he still hadn't married or had children yet, which was where the real expenses would come in. At this moment, Chin Mo stood up and took a deep breath. He planned to thoroughly resolve the issue of spending money, so he wouldn't have to be criticized every time in the future. He also wanted to express some heartfelt words to the elderly folks of Chin village. "Speaking of which, let me calculate this for you. I have a car now, right?" The elderly folks nodded. "And I have a house, a villa. No one can compare to me, right?" The elderly folks smiled. "Indeed, who could compare? Now that I have a car and a house, and I also have money, though I won't disclose how much, I assure you it's more than enough. Just so you know, a few days ago, I went to do some business in Donyang. To be honest, do you know how much I made?" The elderly folks exchanged glances, unsure of the amount. However, Chin Fugwa hesitated and boldly suggested, 100,000? 100,000 yuan is quite a sum. Although Chin Mo used to earn a lot, it's not like he can make that much every time. Uncle Fugwa didn't dare to think too much about it. 100,000 yuan is already impressive. Chin Mo chuckled and said, "Uncle Fugwa, do you look down on others?" After a pause, he continued, "It's hard to say exactly how much, because I didn't earn just money from that deal." Chin Mo took a brief pause. "I earned a building. An office building in the center of Donyang City." "An office building?" The elderly folks looked at each other, not quite understanding this concept. Perhaps they thought a building meant something small, like 2 floors? Knowing they didn't quite get it, Chin Mo went on. "Do you know how big this building is?" He scanned the room. "Let me put it this way. The total area is about the size of my house. Uncle Fugwa's house and Uncle Jianjun's house combined. Wow, that is not small. It really isn't small. That is quite a large area," Chin Jianjun remarked. Chin Mo smiled again, aware they still didn't understand. He continued, "Do you know how many floors that building has?" "How many?" 72 floors. "How many?" The elderly folks were stunned. A place that big, with over 70 floors? What does that even mean? For a moment, they were at a loss for words. Seeing their reaction, Chin Mo added, "This building has 12 elevators." As soon as he finished speaking, the elderly folks were astonished. "Oh my goodness, this is incredible." They were completely taken aback. They didn't even have a concept of how large or tall such a building could be. Although they couldn't imagine it, their shock was still palpable. How many people could live there? City houses are not very big. How could so many people fit in? Of course, office buildings are not the same as residential buildings. They are for work and rarely have people living in them. Clearly, the elderly folks were confused about the distinction. However, Chin Mo didn't explain in detail. He was quite satisfied with their reaction. As long as they could feel the impact, that was enough. He's made it. He's really made it. A whole building. Not to mention in the city, even in the countryside. How much would it cost to build such a place? The elderly folks were so excited that their voices trembled. They struggled to articulate their thoughts. Chin Mo didn't respond to that, but continued. Anyway, it's a building of that size. You just think about how much it's worth. I'm not afraid to tell you that if I sold it, the value would be in the billions. Even if I don't sell it, this building is currently being rented out. Every month, the rent I receive is an astronomical figure. Just the numbers alone are a long string. Chin Mo paused for a moment. He gave these older folks some time to digest what he said, but clearly, they were having a bit of trouble processing it. However, it was all right. They could take their time. Chin Mo continued. Look, I have a lot of money in my account. And a building. Plus, my business is still running and growing. Yet you all worry about me getting married and having kids in the future, as if that requires a lot of money. Chin Mo sighed slightly and continued. I know your intentions, but let's be honest. Who needs a building to get married? Who needs a building to have kids? Who needs a building to raise a child? If that's the case, are we even talking about children? That sounds more like reckless spending. I can't even spend all the rent. Indeed. Chin Mo was not exaggerating at all. For an average person, it wouldn't be about saving money. It would be about not squandering it. Recklessness is a different story. Of course, having a building isn't the main point. The important part is their SA system in place. Chin Mo continued. So what is there to worry about? I don't even have a wife or kids yet. Let us not even talk about whether I need this money. If I had it, could I really spend so much? Chin Mo posed the question back to them. Previously, the older folks had been somewhat surprised by his words, but now, they began to understand what he meant. There was simply no way to spend it all, which left them momentarily speechless. Chin Mo kept going, not giving them time to think. Just now, Third Grandpa asked a good question. Why spend money on you? I just said I have a lot of money. And that's a fact, right? Well, let us not dwell on the money issue, Third Grandpa. Chin Huai looked at Chin Mo in a daze, instinctively responding. Chin Mo looked at Chin Huai and said, Third Grandpa, I have no parents, right? Except for you all, I have no relatives, right? This time, Third Grandpa lowered his head and remained silent. Chin Mo continued. Today, let us talk about why I spend money on you. You're the only family I have left. If I don't spend money on you, who should I spend it on? If you don't want me to spend money, where should I go? Chin Mo got a bit carried away and said, if I don't spend money on you, then what is the point of me earning all this money? If I don't spend it on you, with all this money I have now, I wouldn't do anything for the rest of my life. What is the point of earning money then? Also, if I don't spend money on you now, when do you expect me to spend it? You all are getting old. He didn't finish the last part, taking a deep breath. He had initially just wanted to persuade them. But now he was getting a bit emotional. After saying so many heartfelt words, he felt a little choked up looking at the older folks in front of him. Fortunately, he stopped himself in time and continued. Let us put that aside. Uncle Fugua, when you handed me the 200,000, why didn't you say you were spending money on me? When you took the social assistance money and gave it to me, why didn't you say that you were spending it recklessly? You don't even want to buy a bit of meat. Yet you gave me the money from selling the wheat from those 2 acres. How could you say you're spending recklessly? Just think about how I earned this money. It all came from that 200,000. It was all given to me by you. I earned so much from that 200,000. And spending it on you is just a drop in the bucket. Compared to giving me all your money, I've already been quite shameless. How can I be called reckless in spending? After expressing these heartfelt words, Chin Mo took a deep breath. He stopped saying more, giving the elderly in front of him time to ponder. For a long while, aside from the barking of the dog, there was not a sound in the courtyard. After a moment, Chin Huai sighed and spoke up. Well, isn't that the case? We're all just humble folks, and people are always looking to take advantage. Little Mo has finally made something of himself, thinking of us, and he doesn't really need that little bit. What more can we say? Upon hearing Chin Huai's words, the elderly exchanged glances. At the same time, Zhu Yu also chimed in. That's right. Little Mo makes so much money, and he can't spend it all. What is wrong with us spending a bit of it? As they say, when people have money, they can easily go astray. Spending it on us is better than him doing something bad. Chin Winnie also grinned and added, that makes sense. Little Mo has plenty of money, right? Let us see if he cares about us spending some. With just a few words, the elderly began to speak more. Some remarked, it's rare for Little Mo to be so thoughtful. Others joked, out of that 200,000, some of it is mine too. If he is willing to spend it on me, I don't feel guilty at all. After all, what is the saying? Investment? Ah, right. Some said, how much can we really spend? If he is willing to spend, only a fool wouldn't he want it. They continued, little Mo is thoughtful. If we don't let him spend on us now, we're getting old. Should we wait until we're gone for him to burn money for us? Who knows what happens after death? Even more exclaimed, spend. You kid. If I had known you had so much money, I wouldn't just let you spend it on me. I'd ask for more. Hearing these words and seeing the lively atmosphere, Chin Mo smiled broadly, genuinely happy. Chapter 54. This is neither flattery nor sarcasm. Chin Mo was smiling happily and couldn't help but tease. Fifth grandpa. Do you want money? How much do you want? I'll give it to you. Qin Liangping was just joking. Faced with Chin Mo's teasing, he quickly waved his hands, saying, no, and hurriedly retreated to the side. He was purely joking. Even if Chin Mo was really willing to give money, he wouldn't accept it no matter what. It's worth mentioning that Chin Mo had thought about giving money to the elderly in Qin village. However, he knew that while spending money on them was acceptable, if he truly gave them money, these old folks might really turn against him. That was something he truly couldn't do. Fortunately, it was precisely because he knew this that Chin Mo had never considered the matter. Laughter and cheerful voices came from the yard, all calling out, little Mo is doing well. If he's willing to spend on us, then we'll gladly accept it. At worst, after we die, we'll just have him burn a little less paper for us. Right? Being able to see little Mo's kindness while we're alive is better than anything else. Such a scene made Chin Mo very happy. Why not? At least in the future, when spending money on these elderly folks, they would be more accepting of it. Of course, small amounts were no problem, but large sums were another story. At that moment, Chin Mo was in high spirits. The elderly people nearby were also quite humane. Little Mo, we've talked it out, and we all know your intentions now. If you want to spend money on us in the future, we won't mind. But you still need to be frugal. You can't spend all your money on us. Yes. Hearing these words, Chin Mo chuckled and continuously assured them that it was no problem. He was just listening. As for how things would go in the future, these elderly folks couldn't really control that. Thanks to the current lively atmosphere, they finally stopped holding back. Immediately, Qin Wenyi shouted at Chin Mo, damn it. Before I was afraid of causing trouble for little Mo. I was worried he would waste money and didn't dare to ask him for anything. Now it's good. He can spend however he likes. But enough about that, little Mo. Drive me to the county. I have something to do. Previously, the elderly people from Qin family village were afraid of bothering Chin Mo. Their awkwardness made them seem like strangers. Now that they had opened up, Qin Wenyi was no longer afraid to trouble Chin Mo. He quickly expressed his thoughts. I've always wanted to try riding in little Mo's car, $1 million vehicle. I've never had the chance to ride in one, but I didn't dare. I was afraid I would dirty it. Now it's good. I'll be a bit willful. Just to make it clear, little Mo, if the car gets dirty, you'll have to clean it yourself. I won't be polite at all. Hearing this, Chin Mo laughed. Haha, Uncle Wenyi, look at what you're saying. I've told you before to take a ride and enjoy the breeze, but you refused. Don't say it's just a trip to the county. Even if you dismantled the car, I wouldn't mind. Upon hearing this, Qin Wenyi laughed heartily. Just as Qin Wenyi finished speaking, Song Chunmei couldn't help but say to Chin Mo, little Mo, can you take me to the town as well? I've saved up quite a few eggs, and it's just the right time to sell them. After Song Chunmei finished speaking, Chin Mo smiled and said, seventh grandma, take as many as you have. After you sell them, I'll come back from the county to pick you up. All right. Song Chunmei nodded with a smile. What a wonderful scene it was. The elderly folks of Qin family village finally had something to ask Chin Mo for. In such a situation, Chin Mo not only didn't find it troublesome, but was even quite happy about it. Even San Yi said, then I'll go to the town too. What are you going to the town for? San Yi retorted, I don't want to do anything. I just want to ride in Xiaoma's car. All right. Just to enjoy the breeze. What's wrong with that? At my age, you still want to enjoy the breeze. The old man felt a bit embarrassed by the comment. Chin Mo was even happier, seeing that the old man was willing to ride in his car for a joyride. That's a good thing. Really a good thing. However, while Chin Mo was feeling pleased, he discovered a problem. His car has limited capacity for passengers, but the elderly in Qin family village could use it for their needs. It wouldn't be a problem for him to make trips back and forth. But what about when he is not around? How do the elderly go out? For instance, if Grandma Qi wants to sell eggs or Qin Wenyi wants to go to the county, only Qin Fugua has an electric bike. It's not that the elderly don't want to buy one or don't know how to ride. They just can't afford it at their age. Chin Mo vaguely remembered how the elderly used to travel. Grandma Qi used to walk to the town, and so did the others in the village. This made Chin Mo realize that this situation was not acceptable. It's fine when he's around, but he doesn't plan to leave Qin family village permanently. There will be times he needs to go out, like a trip to Danyang City. What if he is not in the village? Moreover, his car has limited capacity for both people and goods. Chin Mo regretted buying the car. If he had known, he wouldn't have bought an A8. A pickup truck would have been more practical. As he watched the cheerful elderly, an idea suddenly struck him. What if there was always a car available to take them to town or the city? At that moment, Chin Mo's thoughts came to fruition. He should buy another car. A small passenger vehicle, something like a coaster. Just keep it at the village entrance, and anyone who needs to go out can hop on. Hire a driver. Ready to go at any time. It would be like setting up a bus service for the village. Once this idea was fully formed, Chin Mo felt even happier. Not only would it solve the transportation problem for the elderly in Chin Family Village, but it would also be a way to give back to the community. As for whether setting up a shuttle service and hiring a driver was a bit extravagant, Chin Mo didn't think that was an issue at all. Not to mention the rewards he would get from the system for doing this. Just think about it. Spending money on the elderly in Chin Family Village to make their lives more convenient, especially when he has the means to do so. What's the big deal, even if it costs a bit more? In a flash, he called out, "Come on, get in the car. We're heading to the county now. I have some business there too." Hearing Chin Mo's invitation, the elderly of Chin Family Village happily opened the car doors. As they looked at the brand new interior, they hesitated for a moment, but then cheerfully climbed in. And then, wow, this luxury car is different. Sitting in here feels like getting a massage. That's right, it's $1 million car. In this area, who else has the potential like our Xiao Mo? This isn't flattery, nor is it sarcasm. It's genuine pride and praise. Chapter 55. This job is simply wonderful. A group of elderly folks got into the car. These elderly people are really something. As they were getting in, they jokingly said, "Oh no, we might dirty your car. You'll have to clean it yourself. We'll treat it like our own. I want to enjoy the ride too." But once they were seated, they all straightened up, looking quite formal. It wasn't just for Chin Mo's sake. It was $1 million vehicle, and they were worried about damaging it. In an instant, Chin Mo started the car and headed towards the county town. When he pressed the accelerator a bit too hard, the engine roared to life. Before the third elder could say anything, he remarked, "Easy on the pedal. It's already making noise. How hard do you want to press? Aren't you worried about this $1 million vehicle? Isn't it normal for the engine to make noise? A bit of heavy acceleration even clears out carbon buildup." But these elderly folks didn't know that. Chin Mo just laughed and agreed, lightening his foot on the gas to ease their worries. Before long, Chin Mo dropped them off at the town, and then at the county town. When they got out of the car, the elderly folks were still chatting. "This $1 million car really goes fast. And I didn't feel dizzy at all. It's so warm in here. Can you believe it?" We blinked, and we're already in the county town. They seemed quite shocked and incredulous. In reality, there were speed limits on the road. And Chin Mo wasn't driving fast. Even if it were a motorcycle, it would have taken the same amount of time to get to the town. The elderly folks exaggerated their experience. The reason they felt this way was simply because the car belonged to Chin Mo. Even if it were just a few $1,000s or a van, they would likely say the same thing. Notably, once they arrived in the county town, after agreeing on a time, the elderly folks went about their business. Only Chin Weni came along. Chin Weni was one of the younger ones from Chin Family Village. After setting a rough time, Chin Mo wasn't worried about not finding anyone. After taking care of everything, Chin Mo headed straight to the 4S shop. Half an hour later, he picked up a business vehicle, one that could fit a good number of people but wasn't too large. Notably, Chin Mo spent his money freely. Although he bought the car, he couldn't drive it away. This vehicle required a special license that exceeded what Chin Mo was permitted to drive. So, although he purchased the car, he still needed a driver. Chin Mo originally planned to post a job advertisement online. However, when the staff at the 4S shop learned that Chin Mo couldn't drive the car himself and needed to hire a driver, the manager suggested, "Boss, I know someone who used to drive a bus in our county, on the route from Xiong Town to our county. Would you like me to introduce him to you? What do you think?" The person the manager was referring to was his uncle. Hearing that Chin Mo needed a driver, he immediately thought of his uncle. Coincidentally, the manager wasn't the one who handled the paperwork earlier, so he didn't know that the town where Kanjiakan is located is also Xiong Town. That is quite a coincidence. Chin Mo asked, "Really? I'm also from Xiong Town. Where is he from?" The manager was surprised and exclaimed, "You're also from Xiong Town? Wow, so am I. To be honest, the person I'm introducing is my uncle. He is from our area. Just wait a moment, I'll call him over right now." He is working in the county. After half an hour, the uncle was brought over. He was a middle-aged man in his 50s named Lu Jiaming, who had slipped away from work to come. It's no wonder he wanted to come and try for a driving job when he heard about it. After all, driving is much easier than other jobs. In no time, Chin Mo explained his requirements to Lu Jiaming. "The car will be parked at the village entrance. Most of the people in our village are elderly. Just take them wherever they need to go. If there's no one around, you can do whatever you want. Just make sure you can find people." When Chin Mo bought the car, everyone in the 4S shop subconsciously thought he was a company leader or had other needs. And they were puzzled as to why it wasn't registered under a company name. They didn't expect to hear that Chin Mo bought a car specifically for the villagers and was hiring a driver just for the elderly. Everyone was genuinely surprised and gave him a thumbs up. This is a big boss. This is the real deal. He must be making money from business outside. My goodness. This car isn't cheap. It's for public transport. Without mentioning the staff's private discussions, Lu Jiaming felt both happy and a bit worried after hearing this. He was happy because the job was easy, with no deadlines or other tasks, and it was right by his home. He lived in the town and knew Kanjiakan was just a few miles away. However, he was a bit worried that such an easy job might not pay very well. Qin Mo wasn't he one to play tricks. After stating his requirements, he also mentioned the salary. The salary is 6,000, and if you work overtime, you'll get extra pay. As for social insurance, it will take a few days. He emphasized that the basic social insurance needed to be provided. However, since Qin Mo didn't have his own company, he was considering registering one later to handle the social insurance and other matters. Of course, not all of them are fly-by-night companies. Isn't the activity center in Qin Village under construction? Once it's completed, aren't they going to open a supermarket as well? Supermarkets also need to be registered. It can be combined later. Besides social security, Qin Mo doesn't forget about other issues. As for meals, you'll have to sort that out for now. However, I can give you a meal allowance of 50 yuan a day. After the new year, there will be a cafeteria. It's not just about the driver's meals. Aunt Wang's laundry and meal issues also need to be addressed. Aunt Wang is still running around. To be honest, a meal allowance of 50 yuan a day is quite generous. But Qin Mo isn't short on money. He hasn't been a boss before, and he isn't stingy. He is quite generous. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Of course, there are only 2 employees. One is Aunt Wang, and the other is the driver. So there's no need to be stingy. If there were more people, it would naturally need to be calculated differently. This is the treatment, and these are the requirements. Once Qin Mo finished speaking, the entire staff at the 4S shop was excited. This job is simply too good to be true. Chapter 56. This money doesn't just get spent. The work is so easy, and there's even a meal allowance of 50 a day. Where can you find such a job? At that moment, the employees were asking, "Boss, are you still hiring? Do you need more people? How about a mechanic? Do you need a receptionist?" Goodness, even the saleswoman who just sold a car to Qin Mo couldn't help but speak up. The manager's face turned dark, and he hurriedly said, Go, get back to work." He really wanted to continue hiring. The reaction of the employees at the 4S shop amused Qin Mo. This also reflected that Qin Mo's treatment was genuinely good. So much so that after Lu Jiaming heard it, he said, "Boss, even without a cafeteria, it's fine. I live so close. Where are the car keys? I can drive you around to show you my skills." Saying this, Lu Jiaming rushed to test drive the car. He seemed worried that someone might take his job. I have to say, when Qin Mo tried driving, Lu Jiaming, having previously driven a bus, really proved his driving skills. Not only was it smooth, but his driving technique was also impressive. He managed to park perfectly in a tight spot with just one maneuver. In Qin Mo's case, even his business vehicle would require multiple attempts to park. With no issues in driving skills, Qin Mo was very satisfied. He quickly asked, Okay, if you're capable, come to work." Lu Jiaming eagerly replied, "Sure, I can start right away. I can do it now." As soon as Lu Jiaming said this, Qin Mo was a bit taken aback. What about your current job?" He heard Lu Jiaming say, "Oh, I'm just doing temporary work. If I say I'm not doing it, then I won no problem at all." "I see. No wonder you could start working right away. So you're just doing temp work." This made Qin Mo chuckle as he handed the car keys to Lu Jiaming. "All right then, you can start working from today. Drive the car back to the village. By the way, when you get to Jinxing Road, pick someone up. I'll give you a call. And after you get to the town, pick up 2 more people." When Qin Mo left the village, the elderly folks were still crammed into the car. Now it was all good. A small car had been replaced by a larger one, and even the driver had changed. It was now spacious beyond compare. After giving these instructions, Qin Mo didn't forget to give Lu Jiaming Qin Wenyi's phone number, asking him to call when he arrived and at the designated time. He wanted to make sure everything was clear. Seeing that it was almost time, Lu Jiaming immediately drove off without a second thought. Before leaving, Qin Mo even transferred some money to him to fill up the gas tank. Speaking of which, Qin Mo was quite trusting. A new car, a new employee, and he hadn't even registered any information yet he let someone drive it away. He wasn't worried at all. In reality, there was nothing much to worry about. The car was under Qin Mo's name. Even if Lu Jiaming took off, couldn't he just find the manager of the dealership? Qin Mo was also being cautious. When Lu Jiaming was test driving the car earlier, Qin Mo had asked him why he had quit driving a bus. He was concerned about any past issues or if he was a hothead, considering that the villagers were mostly elderly. Upon learning the answer, it turned out that Lu Jiaming had resigned to start a business with a friend, but it had lost money heavily, and now he had no job. Now he finally had such a good opportunity with Qin Mo, which made him positive and dedicated. At his age, nothing could compare to stability. This made Qin Mo feel a bit more at ease. Speaking of which, Lu Jiaming had taken the first step. Qin Mo turned around to attend to other matters. He directly found an agency to inquire about the services of a processing company. Without mentioning Qin Mo's efforts, It wasn't long before Lu Jiaming had filled up the gas and arrived at the agreed location. When he got there, he saw an elderly man squatting by the roadside. Lu Jiaming had a feeling this should be from Qinjia village, but he wasn't entirely sure. He still took out his phone and made a call. Just as the call connected, the elderly man by the roadside started pulling out his phone from his pocket. Hello? Who are you? Seeing that he hadn't mistaken the person, Lu Jiaming hung up and rolled down the window to wave at Qin Wenyi. Brother, get in the car. Qin Wenyi, seeing someone waving to him from the car, mumbled as he tucked his phone away and looked around in confusion. After confirming that he was looking for himself, he couldn't help but say, No, I'm not taking a car. I didn't wave. Lu Jiaming replied. If you're not taking a car, what are you doing? Aren't you going back? Come on, get in the car. Qin Wenyi shouted. I have someone picking me up. I'm not taking your car. Lu Jiaming couldn't help but laugh. Then he asked, Are you from Qin family village? Huh, how did you know? Then don't wait. I'm here to pick you up. It's the boss who called me. What boss? I don't know anyone like that. Lu Jiaming opened the car door, jumped out, and walked over to Qin Wenyi. In just a few words, he explained about Qin Mo buying a car and him being the driver. Upon hearing this, Qin Wenyi was completely stunned. What? This is the car that Xiao Mo bought. You're going to be our driver from now on. If we need to go somewhere, you'll take us? Yes, that's how it is. Oh my goodness. Qin Wenyi never expected this. He thought it would just take a little time for things to get done, but in such a short while, Qin Mo actually bought a car. Not only that, but he also found a driver. In that moment, Qin Wenyi felt like, who is he to deserve a dedicated car? Who is he to have a driver? Isn't that something only a boss is qualified to enjoy? Is this like a bus for Qin Family Village? Does Qin Family Village even deserve a bus? After being dazed for a while, Qin Wenyi instinctively asked, How much is this car? Over $1 million. Hiss. Qin Wenyi felt a sharp pain. Is money spent like this? Over $1 million? Just like that, it's gone in no time? At that moment, Qin Wenyi felt like he hadn't kept an eye on Qin Mo. Even more, why did he suddenly think of buying a car and finding a driver? Right now, Qin Wenyi had a toothache. But then he thought, with Qin Mo's high-rise building in the city center with dozens of floors and several elevators, it was said that the rent alone could add up to a lot, so over $1 million didn't seem particularly much. But still, money shouldn't be spent like this. Chapter 57. Xiao Mo is not someone who shows off. No matter how rich he is, money shouldn't be spent like this. Just in such a short time, over $1 million was gone. Qin Wenyi felt heartbroken. He muttered to himself, It's over, it's over. It would have been better if I hadn't let him spend it. Now it's going to be a mess. After not going to the city for 800 years, he has set up a bus now. Sigh, forget it, forget it. This kid must have thought it was inconvenient for Aunt Chi to go to the market to sell eggs. It's hard for others to go to the market. So he thought of buying a car. And such a big car, how much gas will it burn? If I had known, I wouldn't have let Xiao Mo bring me to the city. Qin Wenyi was mumbling to himself. Lu Jiaming had no idea what he was muttering about and couldn't help but lean in closer, asking, Bro, what are you saying? Are you talking to me? Seeing Lu Jiaming's curious expression, Qin Wenyi quickly waved his hand. No. Lu Jiaming didn't probe further and smiled. So, shall we get in the car and go back? Do you have anything else to do? If you have other things to do, I can take you there and show you around the city, right? Lu Jiaming cheerfully asked Qin Wenyi. However, little did he know that Qin Wenyi was more worried about the fuel costs. Soon, Qin Wenyi hurriedly said, Forget it. Let's go back. All right, get in the car, Lu Jiaming replied. Qin Wenyi quickly got into the vehicle. He had taken buses before. But that was a couple of years ago when he was still in good shape, working outside and earning money. He used to sit for several hours, even over 10 hours, on the bus without feeling much about it. Now, as he got into the car, which also fell under the category of passenger vehicles, he immediately caught a whiff of the new car smell. After glancing around, he felt that this vehicle was far superior to the buses he used to ride. As he settled into the seat, he couldn't help but exclaim, This kid really spends money recklessly. But this car is comfortable. The seats are soft and not hard at all, right? Lu Jiaming laughed along. He didn't mention that this was just the beginning. There were special vehicles designed for comfort, with airline seats that could recline completely. Now that would be truly comfortable. After a while, the vehicle started and headed straight for Xiang Town. However, they hadn't even left the county yet. Qin Wenyi was still thinking about how much fuel the car would consume after running for a while. He never used to worry about such things when he took the bus. Suddenly, an idea struck him, and he quickly turned to Lu Jiaming. Can we pick up a couple of people on the way back to town? If there are a few passengers, we could cover the fuel costs and even make a profit. He thought it was a great idea. Lu Jiaming, listening to this, couldn't he help but recall Qin Mo's face and wondered, does the boss really care about this little bit of fuel money? It didn't seem like him. It looked like getting older had made him more frugal. Lu Jiaming chuckled. The boss didn't suggest that. But as soon as he said that, Qin Wenyi insisted. Just listen to me. Lu Jiaming sighed. Even if I wanted to, we don't have the qualifications for operation. We can't pick up passengers on the way. If we get caught, it would be a big deal. Thus, Qin Wenyi's hopes of saving on fuel costs were dashed. That wasn't all for Qin Wenyi. When the vehicle finally arrived at Xiang Town and found Song Chunmei and Qin Huai waiting to board, a series of sighs filled the air. Oh no. This little MO spent over $1 million casually while I just made $50 selling eggs. Granny Chi's words were laced with complaints. Meanwhile, Qin Huai stared at the passenger vehicle worth over $1 million, remained silent for a moment, and then said casually, "Oh, it's just over $1 million, right?" His tone was light. Song Chunmei rolled her eyes. "As if you have that kind of money." Qin Huai chuckled and said, "I don't have this money. But Xiao Mo does. He is not short of it. Even if he has plenty, spending it like this isn't necessary. We might not even leave the village in 10 days or so, which is such a waste." Before Qin Huai could respond, Lu Jiaming cheerfully added, "That was before when it wasn't convenient. If we could avoid going out, we would. But now that I'm driving, you can go wherever you want. That's what convenience is all about." This statement was indeed spot on. Those without a car don't understand the convenience it brings. In the past, you felt it was unnecessary because you didn't have one. When places were far, you wouldn't want to go, and when they were close, you found it troublesome. But once you have a car, you realize your range of activities expands significantly. Places you once thought were far away become easily accessible with just a press of the gas pedal. It's a completely different concept. Of course, those with cars also don't appreciate the convenience of not having one. For instance, when going to crowded places, finding parking can be a real headache for car owners. While those without a car can just get up and leave without any hassle, these worries are non-existent for them. Additionally, most people without cars think about getting one, while those who have been driving for a while may not want it anymore. However, when it comes to traveling, having a car is definitely better. The car was just bought, and Song Chunmei hasn't even had a ride in it yet. She couldn't quite grasp the sentiment at the moment. After Lu Jiaming finished speaking, Song Chunmei mumbled, "There's no need for that." Hearing this, Qin Huai responded, "All right then. This is good enough. If Xiao Mo is willing to spend the money, let him be happy. This is also for our convenience." After a pause, Qin Huai seemed relieved as he added, "Be content. It's said that having money brings change. Some wealthy people are either lecherous, gambling addicts, or just love to have fun. Xiao Mo is only thinking about us. What more can you want? The car is bought, and it's not like we buy one every day. When we're gone, the car won't be of use anymore, and he can sell it." After Qin Huai expressed his heartfelt thoughts, he felt much more at ease. In his view, Xiao Mo was a sensible person who wouldn't show off. He has money, so spending a little is no big deal. Furthermore, once we're gone, everything in Qin family village will belong to him anyway, so if he is willing, it doesn't matter. What? Xiao Mo isn't show off. It's hard to tell when Qin Huai started to put such a halo around Xiao Mo. If Xiao Mo heard this, he would probably turn red. Last year when he came back, the car was still rented. If he hadn't rented that car, there wouldn't have been so many issues this year. Chapter 58. Spending money, big money. Song Chunmei couldn't absorb anything else, but when she heard that everything would still belong to Xiao Mo after they passed, she felt a sense of relief. In an instant, she said, all right. What's there to say? Let's get in the car and head home. This vehicle can be considered a public transport, right? I've never taken a public bus that goes right to my doorstep in my life. Thanks to Xiao Mo. Wait, no? This is more like a private car, isn't it? Song Chunmei's face broke into a smile. As soon as she said this, Qin Huai, Qin Wenyi, and the driver, Lu Jiaming, couldn't help but laugh at that moment. In an instant, the car started heading straight for Qin family village. Not long after, a similar scene unfolded again in Qin family village. Upon learning that Qin Mo had arranged a bus for the village and even found a dedicated driver, the elderly folks exclaimed, "We don't deserve this. Is this something we should enjoy? This kid really surprises us with what he does." Oh well, we agreed that if he loves spending, then let him spend. After a brief murmur, the elderly began to get busy again. Some suggested, should we hold a banquet? After all, it's a car worth over $1 million. It's definitely cheaper than the one Xiao Mo drives himself. Upon hearing this, someone quickly interjected, no way. You don't know how much Xiao Mo lost on the last banquet. One lively event is enough. Too many will just draw attention. Sighing, Qin Liangping complained. These rural roads are always so dusty. It's not even a new car, yet how did it get so dirty by the time we got home? He grumbled and quickly fetched a basin of water from the house, along with a brand new towel. The towel was pure white. It was given out when someone in Qin family village passed away, meant for wrapping heads. Qin Wenjuan intended to keep it for wiping his face, but had never gotten around to using it. The towel he used was almost worn to a rag. Now, this new towel was brought out to clean the car. Seeing Qin Wenjuan's actions, Qin Huailin also chimed in. I'll go get a towel too. How did it get this dirty? You'd think Xiao Mo bought a secondhand car. After saying this, he went off to fetch a towel as well, preparing to clean the car. To be honest, just listening to them, one would think the vehicle was filthy from the journey back. But Lu Jiaming looked around and genuinely couldn't see any dirt. The paintwork was so shiny it could serve as a mirror. If one had to say it was dirty, it was just a bit of surface dust. How could that be considered dirty? Lu Jiaming couldn't help but smile wryly. In an instant, Lu Jiaming felt a bit hesitant. He was the driver, after all. Although Qin Mo hadn't set any obligations, with such a great job, Lu Jiaming had always intended to give his best effort. He had previously thought that when the car was used less, he could wash it and clean up the interior. But now, seeing the enthusiasm of the elderly, it seemed he might not get the chance to do those things after all. Unable to hold back, Lu Jiaming quickly said to Qin Liangping, I'll do it. I'll do it. Seeing this, Qin Liangping hurriedly responded, Oh, you take a break, let me handle it. I know Lu Jiaming is the driver. But no one from Qin Family Village has ever thought of using Lu Jiaming casually. They're all busy here. Qin Fuwa approached Qin Huai. Uncle Huai, how much does this driver that Xiao Mo found earn in a month? Didn't you ask? Qin Huai quickly waved his hand. Don't ask, absolutely don't ask. It must be more than what you earn. If you ask, it'll just hurt your feelings. Why make things uncomfortable for yourself? After hearing this, Qin Fuwa suddenly understood. It makes sense. A full-time driver must be well compensated. If he really finds out how much Qin Mo spent, it would just bring him discomfort. Everyone in Qin Family Village was bustling with activity. They were washing the car, chatting with Lu Jiaming, and the elderly were visiting the car to experience it. Meanwhile, they were busy looking for a large yard or discussing whether to build a big shed to serve as a garage for the car. To them, this car was truly a treasure. While they were busy, Qin Mo, who was still in the city, suddenly heard a notification sound in his mind. Ding! The host rewards the villagers by providing a business vehicle for their convenience, earning a system reward. 1 3-star hotel. This unexpected notification startled Qin Mo, and he couldn't help but show a joyful expression. Wow, this reward is impressive. A 3-star hotel as a reward. Although it's not as good as an office building, it's still very decent. Qin Mo knew that buying a car would definitely earn him a reward from the system, but he didn't expect it to be this generous. When he calculated it, spending $1 million seemed worthwhile. 1 million for a 3-star hotel. Qin Mo checked the system reward, and it was quite substantial, even including property. It wasn't a rental property. If calculated as an investment, the return was explosive. The key was that this cycle didn't even take a day. At that moment, Qin Mo felt that spending was necessary. It wasn't just about spending. He needed to spend big. He wanted to invest all the money into the villagers of Qin Family Village. Just then, he heard the intermediary say, Mr. Qin, that's roughly it. There shouldn't be any problems left. As for the documents, we'll call you in a few days once they are ready. You can come pick them up then. Listening to the intermediary, Qin Mo replied, All right, thank you. I'll be on my way. Okay, Mr. Qin, goodbye. In reality, one can handle the company registration without an intermediary. It can be done independently. However, Qin Mo didn't understand these things and found it too troublesome, which is why he sought an intermediary. After everything was settled with the intermediary, once the documents are ready, it will be settled. At that time, whether it's Social Security or something else, it can all be arranged. After leaving the agency, in the blink of an eye, Qin Mo headed straight for Qin Family Village. By the time Qin Mo returned to the village, it was already dark. However, compared to other villages, Qin Family Village had streetlights, making it quite bright. Just as Qin Mo approached his home, he saw a crowd gathered at the entrance of the village. The elderly were busy working there. Over here. Pull it. Don't tug too hard. Cover it tightly. Goodness, the elderly in Qin Family Village somehow managed to find some canvas and were covering a vehicle. Chapter 59. Why isn't the money being distributed? After a flurry of activity, the elderly finally managed to cover the vehicle. Upon seeing Qin Mo, they didn't hold back their comments. You young man, is that really necessary? We're old enough for this. Qin Mo chuckled, listening to the first half of their remarks. As for the latter part, he already knew what they were saying, having heard it so many times that it was almost second nature to him. In response, Qin Mo just smiled and said, It's not that valuable, just over $1 million. My building is dozens of stories high, and Lu Jiaming hasn't left yet. Hearing such words from the boss left everyone utterly stunned. Is this really something someone would say? Over $1 million, and you call that not valuable? What kind of wealth is that? No wonder there's a vehicle, streetlights, and even a laundry room. They even installed water pipes. If over $1 million is nothing, what difference does it make? By the end of the afternoon, Lu Jiaming had gotten a clear understanding of Qin Family Village. Fortunately, once the elderly started talking, they only rambled on a bit in front of Qin Mo and then fell silent. In their words, isn't it all agreed upon? He willing to spend. What can you say? With each matter, the elderly gradually raised their acceptance limit. However, with the vehicle now covered, Qin Mo felt a bit of a headache. He originally planned for Lu Jiaming to drive the vehicle to and from work, making it convenient for both of them. Although Lu Jiaming lived not far in town, coming over without a car was still a hassle. Even if he drove his own car or rode an electric bike, if the elderly wanted to go out, the vehicle would have to be left in Qin Family Village. But now, with the elderly enthusiastically having covered the vehicle and cleaned it up. It wouldn't be appropriate to uncover it. Qin Imo simply said to Lu Jiaming, "I'll give you a ride home. From now on, you can drive to work. There's no need to cover the vehicle." Upon hearing Qin Imo's words, Lu Jiaming shook his head repeatedly. "It's fine, boss. I can ride an electric bike to work." Qin Imo waved his hand and said, "What if it rains on a gloomy day? That would be a hassle. Just drive your car to work," he urged, suggesting that the driver should take care of it. There would be no shortage of private use for the car by the driver. However, Qin Imo didn't mind that much. His requirements were simple. As long as Lu Jiaming could pay more attention to the elderly in Qin family village, that would be enough. As for the car, it could be used. How much could it cost in fuel anyway? In response to Qin Mo's words, Lu Jiaming couldn't refuse. Once they got in the car, Lu Jiaming couldn't help but exclaim, "Boss, you are a good person. You earn money but still remember to take care of the people in your village." Qin Imo smiled lightly but didn't respond. Moments later, Lu Jiaming added, "There are many wealthy people out there, but not many like you, boss." Qin Imo chuckled and replied, "You know the situation in our village. People should learn to be grateful." Lu Jiaming nodded and curiously asked Qin Imo, "Why don't you just give money directly to the elderly in your village? If you give them money, they can spend it however they want." Lu Jiaming had seen news reports about wealthy individuals returning to their hometowns and distributing money to the elderly, so he thought it would be simpler that way. Moreover, despite all the resources Qin Imo had brought to Qin family village, he had never given them a single penny in cash. Was Qin Imo being stingy? Certainly not. How could someone so frugal provide so much for the village? This piqued Lu Jiaming's curiosity. After holding back for an afternoon, he finally couldn't resist asking Qin Imo. Upon hearing this, Qin Imo couldn't help but shake his head and chuckle. If you give them money, they have to want it. Lu Jiaming was taken aback. He was about to say that who would refuse money, but then he considered the situation in Qin family village and suddenly realized, that's true. In other villages, who wouldn't want money? But in Qin family village, given Qin Mo's status, it was likely that no one would actually take the money. In a brief moment, Qin Imo added, even if they received it, they would have to spend it. This made Lu Jiaming scratch his head again. He realized that it wasn't just the elderly in Qin family village. Even in other villages, how many people of that age were willing to spend money? The idea of not taking money and not spending it indeed made it unnecessary to give cash. With that, Lu Jiaming finally understood. However, this reminded Qin Imo of something else. Although the elderly in Qin family village would likely refuse money, there was another consideration. The last time they donated 200,000, the elderly didn't have much money left. They had spent money on buying cars, hosting banquets, and giving gifts. Did the elderly still have money left? Although Qin Imo had made plans to take care of everything in Qin family village, he couldn't ignore the fact that the elderly couple didn't have any money at all. How could one expect not to spend anything? Moreover, the house hadn't been built yet, and the small supermarket wasn't open either. The next morning, Qin Imo originally intended to pick up Lu Jiaming, but to his surprise, when he got up, Lu Jiaming had already arrived. He walked over directly, probably thinking it would be less trouble for Qin Imo. He also considered that he needed to drive the car away when he left at night, so he decided to walk instead. From this perspective, Qin Imo felt that Lu Jiaming was considerate. It seemed he was eager to start on his first day at work, as he quickly mingled with the elderly in Qin family village. From a distance, Qin Imo could hear him chatting with the elderly, asking if they wanted to go to town or the county, and wondering about the road conditions for driving. Lu Jiaming was clearly anxious to find something to do. But despite his efforts, none of the elderly seemed interested in going out. "Just take a break. I'm not going anywhere," one of them said. "Why go to town? That just wastes fuel. Besides, there's no need to drive to cut grass in the fields. The county has nothing to see." Lu Jiaming became a bit anxious. He was concerned about just collecting a paycheck without working. When he finally saw Qin Imo, his face was full of worry. For him, this wasn't acceptable. What if there were no jobs available in the future? He could clean the car, but if it was too clean, what else could he do? Seeing Lu Jiaming's situation, Qin Imo smiled and said, "If there's no driving, you can just relax. The elderly will definitely call you if they need to go out. Don't worry. Even if you don't work, you'll still get paid. In a couple of days, once the paperwork is sorted, we'll sign a contract. So just take it easy." After hearing this, Lu Jiaming felt much relieved. He quickly replied, "Great. Then I'll keep an eye on the elderly to see if they need help. I can lend a hand. It's boring just sitting around." As he said this, Qin Imo remembered something. He turned to Lu Jiaming and said, "All right, if you really have nothing to do before you leave tonight, help them turn on the air conditioning, fill the humidifier with water, and switch on the electric blanket. The elderly might hesitate to use those things at night. Just make sure to add purified water to the humidifier and don't set it too high." Qin Imo emphasized the importance of using clean water in the humidifier, recalling a news story he had seen about someone abroad having issues due to unclean water in a humidifier. Although that person had mixed in other substances, It was still crucial to pay attention to the cleanliness of the humidifier to avoid any potential health issues. Qin Imo couldn't help but remind Lu Jiaming a few times. After speaking, Qin Imo felt a bit embarrassed. After all, he was the driver, and here he was assigning so many tasks that weren't really part of the job description. He even joked, saying, "I'll make sure to count it as overtime. You'll definitely get the extra pay." Upon hearing this, Lu Jiaming quickly waved his hands. "Boss, please don't." Although Qin Mo was assigning work that wasn't typically the driver's responsibility, Lu Jiaming was quite pleased. He thought, at least there's something to do, which is better than being idle. It wouldn't be too much trouble, and he felt justified in receiving some pay for it. Lu Jiaming was even excited. As for the raise, he didn't dare to ask for that. Just having something to do was already great, and he nodded repeatedly, saying, Okay, boss, I got it. No problem." Seeing his enthusiasm, Qin Mo continued, "We have a laundry room here. If you have clothes to wash, you can bring them here. Also, don't forget to buy some bottled water when you go to town. And about the electric blanket, if the temperature drops, turn it on. But don't have everything on at once. Just keep an eye on the temperature while doing these things." Qin Mo went into a lot of detail, and he felt a bit shy about it. He wondered why he was being so meticulous. He even mentioned how to adjust the humidifier settings, the temperature for the air conditioner, and when to preheat the electric blanket. He felt he might have said too much. But even though he knew Lu Jiaming was in his 50s and should know better, he still worried that Lu Jiaming might overlook something. After all, he was concerned about the older residents in Qin Family Village and didn't want any safety hazards. Despite all the details, Lu Jiaming didn't seem annoyed. Instead, he listened attentively and nodded repeatedly. He thought to himself, look at this boss. What a good person. He really cares about those elderly folks. While feeling grateful, he assured Qin Mo, "Don't worry, boss. I'll definitely pay attention to these things. I'll clean the humidifier regularly too. It gives me something to do." Hearing this, Qin Mo replied, "Thank you for that." Lu Jiaming responded, "You're being too formal." After finishing his instructions to Lu Jiaming, Qin Mo quickly found Qin Fugua. Upon seeing him, Qin Mo asked, "Uncle Fugua, has the subsidy for farming come out this year?" "There are subsidies for farming now. Although the amount isn't much, it does exist." Qin Mo asked Qin Fugua this for a reason, as Qin Fugua, being the village secretary, would know best. After Qin Mo's inquiry, Qin Fugua replied, "Not yet. It will probably take about another month for the money to be distributed. It's usually around this time every year. The subsidy is given once a year. Here in Dongyang, it usually arrives at the end of the year. However, the time is not quite here yet, but it's not far off either." After Qin Fugua said this, he curiously asked Qin Mo, "Why do you ask this?" He didn't believe that Qin Mo was there to ask for money. Facing Qin Fugua's curiosity, Qin Mo replied, "It's like this, Uncle Fugua. I want to give some money to the elders." Qin Mo still remembered the matter of the money for the elders' burial. He hadn't forgotten it. He had been thinking about it since yesterday. Without any donations or banquet arrangements, Qin Mo couldn't spare much thought on that. But he was worried that the elders might not have a penny left. This made Qin Mo quite concerned, even somewhat anxious. Of course, if he wanted to give money, he needed a reason. That's why he came to find Qin Fugua. As soon as Qin Mo mentioned giving money, Qin Fugua became agitated. He immediately shouted, "Get out," and tried to chase him away. Hey. Qin Mo exclaimed several times, but he was still pulled away by Qin Fugua, who showed no mercy. Not only was he being dragged out, but Qin Fugua also glared at him. "Are you done? Who do you think you're messing with? Do you believe I'll tell your elders about this and they'll scold you? You think we'll accept your money? Why don't you just go to heaven?" It was clear that Qin Fugua was genuinely angry, and it was not just a little bit. Seeing the situation, Qin Mo quickly began to explain. "Uncle Fugua, please let me finish. I won't listen." Qin Mo wore a bitter smile, but fortunately, he managed to convey his thoughts and worries to Qin Fugua. After a while, Qin Fugua fell silent. "Isn't that right, Uncle Fugua? It's always about donations and banquet contributions. I dare say the elders are spending cleanly. I'm not saying how much to give them, just a little, so they have some money in their pockets. They can't be completely broke. I can't just ask the elders if they're out of oil and salt. How would I know? If they end up without even money for basic necessities, what does that make me? Isn't that nonsense? Even if it's just 100 or 80 yuan, if they have that, I can feel more at ease." Qin Mo was genuinely worried. He expressed his concerns to Qin Fugua, who found his arguments reasonable. Qin Fugua hesitated for a moment and said, "You make a good point." Earlier, he had wanted to scold Qin Mo, but now he had to admit that Qin Mo's reasoning made sense. He wasn't a stubborn person. He understood the elders' situation and could see Qin Mo's concern. If that were the case, it was indeed possible that the elders might not even have money for oil. Qin Fugua believed he could refuse any money from Qin Mo, but the needs of the elders still had to be considered. At one point, Qin Fugua, who initially wanted to scold someone, couldn't help but speak up. "All right, I get your point. But how are you going to explain this to them? Even if they know it's from you, they can't accept it. And how much are you planning to give?" While saying this, Qin Fuguo remained cautious towards Qin Mo. Hearing this, Qin Mo quickly replied, I won't give too much. I know they can't accept a lot, and it might even be revealed that it's from me. That's why I was asking how much was given as subsidies in previous years. Qin Fuguo asked, are you trying to use the subsidy as an excuse? 240 per acre? Then I'll give 240. Whoever has a few acres will get the money for those acres. Just say it's subsidy money. Qin Fuguo understood Qin Mo's intentions. The elderly folks wouldn't suspect that the money came from Qin Mo and would happily accept it. Plus, there would be extra cash on hand. However, Qin Fuguo couldn't help but retort, aren't you being ridiculous? If you give 240 now, what will happen when the government distributes funds later? What will you say then? Hearing this, Qin Mo grinned. For the government's funds, you can just say that's for next year. This year, it's given in advance. And what about this time next year? That's money for the year after. Qin Fuguo, Qin Mo, just say everything will be given in advance. All right. Qin Fuguo had to admit that Qin Mo was clever. There are indeed some young people, but not many, and it's not yet time for them to return. More will be written about this later. Chapter 61. They went, so they can't come back empty-handed. Okay, let's do it your way. Qin Fuguo sighed deeply. He didn't know what to say about Qin Mo's actions. To be honest, Qin Fuguo didn't want Qin Mo to spend money. No matter how much Qin Mo did for the village, the elders of Qin family village could accept it. It could be seen as Qin Mo's good intentions, or that he was a conscientious child. In any case, it was all good. The elders of the village could feel justified. However, giving money was different. The nature of it was not the same. Not to mention Qin Fuguo himself. Even if you pulled someone randomly from Qin family village and gave them money, they would definitely turn against you. This was quite strange. Logically speaking, the amount Qin Mo was giving as subsidies wasn't much. Compared to the expenses for street lights or other things, it was not insignificant. But when it came to hard cash, it was a different story. Isn't it odd? Although Qin Fuguo didn't want Qin Mo to spend money, he also understood that Qin Mo had a point and was concerned about the village elders. After a moment, he found the records of last year's subsidies. As the village secretary, he had all the village's information. This record detailed how much land each household had and how much subsidy they received last year. Qin Fuguo glanced at it and said to Qin Mo, last year was the same amount. If you're going to give it, then just follow what's on the list. Qin Mo took the list and quickly scanned it, seeing the names of the elderly folks on it. Qin Mo focused on the amount, taking his third uncle, Qin Huai. As an example, for 5 mu of land, the subsidy was 200 yuan. This amount is not too little, but it's also not a lot. Qin Mo was quite satisfied with this figure. More than 1,000 yuan is enough for the elderly to cover their usual expenses. Whether it's going to the market, shopping, or buying something, it would suffice for them. Moreover, the elderly tend to spend very little. With this little over 1,000, it might last them quite a while. Qin Mo was pleased that the money was enough for the elderly, rather than being satisfied with the fact that it required him to contribute less. Of course, as always, Qin Mo wished he could give a bit more, but if he did, it would really cause issues later on. If the villagers found out, it would be a real mess. Looking at the numbers, Qin Mo nodded repeatedly. All right, let us go with this. As he turned, he took out his phone and opened the calculator, starting to add everything up. He wanted to see the total amount, planning to withdraw the money later and give it to Qin Fuguo to distribute. After calculating, he found it wasn't much, just over 40,000 yuan. Once he had the total, he said to Qin Fuguo, Uncle Fuguo, I'll go get the money, but you must not let it slip, okay? If they find out, it'll be a problem. Qin Fuguo nodded in response. Don't worry, I wouldn't say anything like that. Qin Mo was about to leave when suddenly Qin Fuguo remembered something and called out, wait a minute, what's wrong? Qin Mo frowned. Did you include me in the count? Yes, I did. Since this is how we're distributing it, how could I leave you out? However, Qin Mo replied, it seems like I didn't add you. Qin Fuguo immediately said, don't mess around. Hurry up and include me. I'm not like your second aunt. You forgot I'm still the village secretary. I have a salary. I'm not any less wealthy than they are. Seeing that Qin Fuguo was serious, Qin Mo could only smile wryly. All right, I'll include you. How about this? I'll get the money, and you can distribute it after I give it to you. Okay, Qin Fuguo grinned. That sounds good. After settling this with Qin Fuguo, Qin Mo didn't rush to withdraw the money immediately. He first went home. At his doorstep, the village dogs, led by Eru, were already waiting impatiently. They were all eager for food. Ever since these dogs had eaten Qin Mo's dog food, they had become quite picky. Although they had shed their clothes, they couldn't change their appetites. Every morning, they would come in droves to eat at Qin Mo's place. After a few feedings, the elderly in Qin family village no longer needed to feed the dogs. It was clear that the dogs' new dog food was more expensive than steamed buns. As a result, Qin Mo had developed a habit of feeding the dogs. Fortunately, the dog food isn't wasted. To put it simply, if Qin Mo shouted in Qin family village, all the dogs in the village would come running. If he pointed in a certain direction for the dogs to go, they would race over one faster than the other. After feeding the dogs, Chin Imo took out some paper and a pen to start calculating. He would need to go to the town to withdraw some money, or at least to the county. For Chin Imo, since he was going anyway, it would be a bit unreasonable not to bring something back. However, he couldn't think of anything to do at the moment. So he simply made a list. He wrote down the things he had done and then thought about what needed to be supplemented in Chin Family Village. Chin Imo couldn't help but mumble as he calculated. The activity center hasn't been built yet. It's impossible to do anything. For the time being, he could only buy a few things for the villagers, and with the new year approaching, there wasn't much he could do. If he waited until after the new year. Once the activity center was finished, there would be many more things he could do. By then, he would have enough money in hand. Not to mention, renovating the houses in Chin Family Village would bring a fresh look. Just thinking about that scene made Chin Imo smile. The rewards would be substantial, and it would greatly improve the living environment for the elderly in the village. While Chin Imo was pondering, he sketched on the paper. A little bit of firewood, rice, oil, and salt. I should also buy some vegetables and fruits. Oh right, I need to get some bedding too. Those elderly folks probably haven't changed their quilts in years. They all use cotton quilts that are many years old. Chin Imo doubted they were even warm anymore. Take Chin Wenjuan for instance. The quilt he uses was one he received when he got married, although it had been refurbished a few times. With the cotton fluffed up and the cover replaced, Chin Wenjuan is already over 60. How many years has it been? Can that thing still keep him warm? Speaking of bedding, Chin Imo's thoughts wandered. Yes, I should also replace their beds. Third uncle sleeps on a bed with a simple frame and ropes stretched across. It can't even fit an electric blanket. If it's not replaced now, when will it be? This list is indeed useful. Initially, Chin Imo was thinking about how to give back to the villagers. Once he made this list, he realized there were plenty of things he could buy. Chapter 62. The boss is thoughtful. The list included a whole bunch of items, which excited Chin Imo. The things on this list weren't just for the villagers. They were also rewards from the system. Each item counted. Let us not even talk about how good the system rewards could be. Even if they were just cash rewards, that would still be quite a lot. Wouldn't that increase the balance in Chin Imo's bank card? In no time, Chin Imo got into the car and prepared to set off. But just as he was about to leave, he suddenly remembered something. This sedan can't carry much. If you buy a lot of things, driving this car is pretty useless. In the blink of an eye, Chin Imo found Lu Jiaming. Lu Jiaming was busy chatting with the elderly. It was clear that none of the elderly wanted to go out. His car hadn't moved yet. Come with me for a trip. Drive the bigger vehicle. Hearing that Chin Imo wanted to go out, Lu Jiaming instantly got excited. All right. In no time, he drove the car over to Chin Imo. Boss, where are we going? Chin Imo replied. Let's go to the town, to the county. I need to buy some things. My car is too small to carry much. Okay. Lu Jiaming smiled and added, I can also grab a few buckets of water on the way back. He had been thinking about what Chin Imo had asked him to do and originally planned to go by them himself. Now it was perfect to go with Chin Imo. The town could offer some shopping options, but Xiang Town really isn't big and the available items are quite limited. So it was better to go to the county. In a moment, Lu Jiaming drove off with Chin Imo, leaving the village. Upon seeing this, the elderly in Chin Family Village began to chat. Little Imo is going out again. What is he up to this time? Of course, he must have something to do. Why doesn't he drive himself? Why ask little Lu to drive the big vehicle? Doesn't that consume more fuel? Maybe he's picking someone up. The small car can't fit everyone. Some elderly couldn't help but speculate. Little Imo wouldn't be getting into any trouble again, would he? Previously, when Chin Imo went out, the elderly couldn't help but worry. But now, as they spoke, they fell silent for a moment before saying, well, let him go. After all, didn't he say he wanted to spend money on us? Let him do as he pleases. As long as he doesn't go too far. At least he's thoughtful, and it's better than having money and doing bad things. One elder even chuckled. Let him go. If he spends too much, we can just say something to him. In my opinion, if he buys too much, there will be plenty for us when he wants to spend money on us. Oh, that's a good point. Exactly. Look, we even have a restroom now. We're not lacking anything anymore. Is he really going to buy me a coffin? Haha. If he really buys it for me, I'd be happy. But such things definitely won't happen. Little Imo isn't foolish. What? Is he going to tear down my house? Haha. The elderly laughed. Ever since Chin Imo had spoken before, they had become more open-minded. This didn't stop Chin Imo, of course, but they also hoped he wouldn't spend recklessly. It's worth mentioning that while these elderly were joking and laughing, they were unaware that Chin Imo definitely wouldn't buy a coffin. Although some elderly, as they aged, did wish for a good quality coffin, sometimes even placing it in their homes. With that item, there is both joy and peace of mind. However, it's all just elderly people preparing for their own future, fearing that one day they might be gone without time to make arrangements. These things are all prepared by themselves, with no younger generation buying them. Even if the elderly want them, the young ones certainly want to do that. Therefore, the thought of a burial casket is something Chin Imo wouldn't even consider. But the houses, let us not get into that. These elderly folks have no idea that Qin Mo has already made preparations. They wouldn't know how they would react if Qin Mo were to demolish their houses later on. Lu Jiaming and Qin Mo arrived at the county town in no time. Once they got there, Qin Mo remembered something. Let us go check on your nephew first. Lu Jiaming's nephew was, of course, the manager of the 4S dealership. Upon hearing this, Lu Jiaming hurriedly said, Boss, is there a problem with the car? Or is it the paperwork that isn't in order? Did Yufeng not do his best selling you the car? Please don't blame him. I'll have a word with him. This kid, how does he work? Lu Jiaming quickly blurted out these words, fearing that his nephew might not have put in enough effort selling the car to Qin Mo, and thus Qin Mo might not be pleased. Otherwise, why would he go to the 4S dealership if the car was already taken and not yet due for maintenance? Hearing this, Qin Mo quickly smiled and said, Don't misunderstand. What I meant is that I want to buy another car. On the way here, I was thinking that if I'm not carrying people and just buying things, my A8 won't do. And this business car isn't suitable either since it's meant for passengers. I'm considering buying a small truck or a pickup. It would be more convenient for hauling goods when I need to buy things. Upon hearing this, Lu Jiaming understood. Oh, I see. He felt relieved. At the same time, he was amazed. The boss really has money. Buying a car is as easy as that. Not only is he willing to buy for carrying people, but he is also buying separately for hauling goods. Isn't that being wealthy? There was nothing much to discuss at the 4S dealership. Since they weren't in a hurry, Qin Mo simply ordered one. During this time, Lu Jiaming's nephew, the 4S dealership manager, was exceptionally enthusiastic. There was nothing much to say other than that he would come over to drive it once the car arrived. After the car was bought, Qin Mo headed straight to the grain and oil market with Lu Jiaming. The market had everything one could need: rice, flour, oil, and various seasonings. Qin Mo bought a mountain of items, and everything he bought was of the best quality. He didn't even skip on the seasonings. The items were complete. Although it was said to be shopping, it was more like a bulk purchase. This left Lu Jiaming once again astounded. Originally, they came with the business car to haul things, but unfortunately, Qin Mo bought too much, and it couldn't all fit. Luckily, because of the large quantity he bought, the grain and oil shop owner patted his chest and said, I'll deliver it. I'll bring it right to your home. Qin Mo candidly expressed his gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. The delivery for rice and flour would be handled, but small items like seasonings would be on him. After buying these items, as Qin Mo was moving them to the car, Lu Jiaming saw this and said, Boss, let me help. You just stay here, I'll take care of it. Lu Jiaming thought it was unreasonable for the boss to do this work. He was still standing there. Seeing Lu Jiaming quickly tidying up the items, Qin Mo smiled and said, After you go back, take some of these rice and flour with you, and also give some to Aunt Wang. The items aren't expensive, so you can save your family from buying them. Oh, what about his share? Lu Jiaming was excited. Just as Qin Mo said, the items weren't worth much. But they weren't exactly cheap either. Lu Jiaming wasn't just being greedy. It was mainly because the boss was thoughtful. The boss treated his employees well and cared about them. This made Lu Jiaming feel a bit buoyant while working. Chapter 63, A Worry-Free Year. Where can you find such a good boss? Not only is the work easy, but the boss is also generous and considerate. Lu Jiaming wasn't exactly young. He was in his 40s and had done many jobs, but at that moment, he felt a surge of motivation. I'll work hard until I drop. It would be unreasonable not to work hard for such a boss. He thought to himself that he must work diligently in the future, keeping an eye out for tasks. Maybe he should find some time to treat his nephew to a meal. Fortunately, it was this kid who came to mind. Otherwise, such a good job wouldn't have come to him. Lu Jiaming felt invigorated. As long as he could help, he was determined not to let Qin Mo do any of the work. Boss, just let me handle it. This is not your job. I'll take care of it. You just sit back and relax. Faced with such enthusiasm, Qin Mo was both amused and helpless. The only thing left for him to do was pay for everything. This was truly a large purchase. Not only did he buy staples like rice, oil, and salt, but he also considered personal hygiene products. Once he and Lu Jiaming exited the grain and oil market, they headed straight to the supermarket. They bought everything from basins, towels, shampoo, to soap, anything they could get their hands on. It wasn't that Qin Mo was relying on these small items to earn system rewards. It was mainly because he knew that the people in Kanjiakan genuinely needed these items. Some were even using laundry detergent to wash their hair. Since he was already there, Qin Mo figured he might as well buy them to prevent people from having to wash their hair with laundry detergent in the future. After all, that is not what it's meant for. Moreover, with the laundry room available in the village, clothes wouldn't need washing. And there wouldn't even be any laundry detergent left. Given all this, Qin Mo couldn't just turn a blind eye. After purchasing these items, he thought of getting some dishwashing liquid as well. Where is it? Just ahead. Lu Jiaming was directing Qin Mo in the supermarket while expressing his astonishment. It was impressive that they even bought dish soap. After purchasing the dish soap, they didn't stop there. They also got toilet paper. Was this a typical way of giving back to the community? This was practically at the level of a caretaker. Lu Jianming, overwhelmed with emotions, found himself at a loss for words. After a shopping spree at the supermarket, the car was packed to the brim. Not only was the interior full, but the trunk was also completely stuffed. However, that wasn't all. Qin Imo still needed to buy a big item, a bed. Qin Imo initially planned to go to a furniture store, but after Lu Jianming learned of this, he advised against it. Don't, boss. Furniture stores are so expensive. They're quite pricey. I know there are furniture factories. Let us go buy directly from the factory. They have a lot of stock, and you can get it much cheaper. Plus, you can choose the quality, and you can see how they make it. Lu Jianming, having spent a long time in the county, knew these things inside out. Qin Imo accepted his suggestion without hesitation. Soon, they arrived at the furniture factory. Upon arrival, they stated their intention, and they were quickly attended to. After all, there is no reason to turn down business that comes to the door. The factory was small, but it had a complete inventory. Once they learned Qin Imo wanted to buy dozens of beds, the person in charge was very pleased. He suggested, I recommend hardboard beds. Older adults aren't suitable for sleeping on two soft beds. The best mattresses are made of coconut coir. They provide excellent support for the lumbar spine while sleeping. The person in charge gave a detailed introduction and added, our coconut coir is all high-temperature pressed, so you can rest assured there's absolutely no glue. So you don't have to worry about formaldehyde. Qin Imo was very satisfied with what he saw and placed an order on the spot. Of course, he didn't forget to get a bed for himself as well, opting for a softer latex one. Buying these beds and mattresses meant Qin Imo spent quite a bit of money. While there were cheaper options available, overall, the prices were significant. The bed frame cost over 1,000, and the mattress ranged from 2,000 to 3,000. In total, Qin Imo spent about 4,000 to 5,000 on just one bed. Of course, this wasn't even the best option. If one didn't mind the suitability and only considered the price, there were options that cost tens of thousands. This was evident from couples fighting over mattresses during divorces. After Qin Imo placed the order and made the payment, the factory manager was very excited. He immediately said, give me 2 hours to load the truck, and I will definitely deliver it to you today, directly into your home. I guarantee you can sleep on the new bed tonight. Indeed, when the money is in place, things get done. The reason the factory manager was so confident was that he had stock ready. Qin Imo has managed to clear out some inventory. Secondly, the distance isn't far. It won't take too long. The bed has been purchased, and Qin Imo hasn't forgotten about the items on it. He quickly rushed to the home textile city. In no time, he got everything in place, 4-piece bedding sets and quilts. All these purchases took quite a bit of time. Qin Imo still has a lot of things he can buy. He could continue shopping. However, he really can't anymore. It's not about saving a bit of money. It's just that he genuinely can't manage it anymore. Not to mention how many items have already been sent to Qin Family Village or are waiting to be delivered there. Even the official vehicle is packed full. In Lu Jianming's words, boss, don't buy any more. If you do, we won't have anywhere to sit. Alright then, let's head back to Qin Family Village. Turning around, they started their journey back. Upon arriving in town, the two of them conveniently had a meal. By the time they reached Qin Family Village, they saw a flurry of activity at the village entrance before even entering. A truck was parked there, unloading goods. The items being unloaded were the rice, flour, and cooking oil that Qin Imo had bought. Seeing the truck full of supplies, the elderly folks exclaimed, look, look. I knew Xiao Imo wouldn't come back empty-handed. As soon as he goes out, I know he is going to spend money again. This kid really doesn't know how to save, Sai? What does he need to get us all these things for? Don't say that. Xiao Imo has a good heart. He has already made arrangements. If you keep saying this, won't he feel hurt if he hears it? I just feel sorry for his money. Hey, these things may look like a lot, but they don't cost much. For Xiao Imo, it's not a big deal. That's right. Our Xiao Imo has a place in the city. Hey, it's good to buy these things. We won't need to buy anything for the new year. Haha. That is true. We can have a worry-free new year. Chapter 64. Why don't you find me a partner? The people of Qin Family Village were quite happy. These supplies of rice, flour, and cooking oil would save them some expenses. Of course, it wasn't that the elderly were being stingy or happy about not spending money. It was because these were bought by Qin Imo. It's the thought that counts. Besides, buying these things can be a hassle. Now, thanks to Qin Imo, everything has been arranged properly. They couldn't help but be pleased. However, they were also a bit puzzled. Where is Xiao Imo? The things are delivered. But where is he? This kid isn't off doing something again, is he? As the villagers were discussing, they soon saw the official vehicle approaching from a distance. Upon seeing the car, they exclaimed, ah, he is finally back. The elderly folks were very pleased to see the vehicle. They were just about to ask Qin Imo how he arranged all these items. However, as soon as Qin Imo got out of the car, the elderly folks noticed the truck was loaded with even more goods. They had thought that the rice, flour, and cooking oil were already a lot. But it turned out there was a whole truck full of items. The elderly folks couldn't help but gasp in surprise. How much did you buy? And there's still a whole truckload. They exclaimed, what on earth is all this? At that moment, The villagers looked at Chin Mo with a hint of reproach. Jumping down from the truck, Chin Mo laughed and said, just some daily necessities. Shampoo, toothbrushes, toilet paper, and the like. They're not worth much. Hearing this, the elderly folks couldn't help but complain, why buy so much? We can wash with laundry detergent. I still have half a bag left. I figured it could last me a year. Chin Mo was at a loss for words. How much laundry detergent do you have? A year's worth? Just then, Lu Jiaming was getting ready to unload the items from the truck. Before he did, he asked Chin Mo, boss, we shouldn't put the bedding on the ground. It'll get dirty. Where should we place it? Or should I separate it and deliver it home? The other items could be left on the ground. But the bedding was new, and getting it dirty wouldn't be good. Lu Jiaming was quite thoughtful. Before Chin Mo could respond, Qin Wenjuan's voice came through. What? Why is there bedding on the truck? Did you just buy this? What do we need this for? With Qin Wenjuan's words, others chimed in. We don't lack for this kind of stuff. Why buy bedding? Little Mo, we agreed on this before, but I still have to say, isn't this a waste? Exactly. Hearing this, Qin Mo simply laughed. Waste? Not at all. By the way, fourth master, how old is that bedding of yours? It's from when you got married. Can it still keep you warm? That was years ago. The cotton is all clumped up. After Qin Mo's remark, Qin Wenjuan gave a sheepish smile. It's good enough to cover with. Good enough. That good enough had lasted for many years. If Qin Wenjuan's bedding was like this, how could anyone else's be any better? Qin Mo's words left others speechless. Third master murmured, if we're changing bedding, why not change the whole bed too? His mumbling was clearly a complaint. Just then, as Qin Huai finished speaking, a loud honking sound came from behind. A large truck approached, loaded down with even more items, bed frames and mattresses. The truck stopped at the village entrance. At this time, Qin Mo smiled and said to Qin Huai, hey, third master. How did you know I bought beds? Upon hearing this, third master was momentarily stunned. He had just made a casual remark, and now it seemed to be coming true. Looking at the piles of beds, he exclaimed, oh my, you actually bought them. I also mentioned that I could sleep on that bed until I leave. Third master widened his eyes, unable to say a word. After holding it in for a while, he finally managed to say, Mom, why buy this thing? Who doesn't have a bed at home? Why are you buying a bed? Why not help me find a partner instead? Clearly, he was a bit anxious. Qin Huai was genuinely complaining. Who would have thought that Qin Mo would not follow the usual script? The next moment, Qin Mo pondered for a moment and said, Third master, what you said is still a bit difficult. Don't worry, I heard there's a matchmaker in the southern village who's particularly skilled. Just wait a couple of days. Seeing the serious expression on Qin Mo's face, Qin Huai was really at a loss. Oh, I was just joking. Please, don't. He waved his hands repeatedly. At his age? Looking for a partner? Where would he have the face to do that? In that instant, Qin Huai's face turned red. Seeing his reaction, laughter erupted around them. Even Qin Mo couldn't help but laugh. He was just joking too. However, after Qin Mo's playful banter, although the old folks were helpless about Qin Mo spending so much money on so many things, they didn't continue to complain. Of course, they still had some reservations about the bed. Time and again, they felt it was unnecessary. Fortunately, Lu Jiaming said, it's not worth much, really. It was bought directly from the furniture factory, didn't cost much, and the mattress was even a gift. In reality, the mattress was the most expensive part. Lu Jiaming's exaggerated comments were all due to Qin Mo advising him on the way. Even if Qin Mo hadn't advised him, Lu Jiaming knew how to talk to the old folks. All the things Qin Mo bought were delivered. The bed was brought into the house, and new bedding was laid on it. The other items were divided among families. That was the end of the work. Thankfully, the bed was easy to assemble. Before long, new beds appeared in every household in Qin family village. When the new beds were set up, Qin Fugua sighed, saying he never thought he would sleep on a new bed in this lifetime. The other old folks echoed, who says otherwise? I wonder if I can get used to it. Speaking of which, the bed was indeed nice, but it felt somewhat out of place with the surroundings. Some houses in Qin family village still had mud walls, which definitely fell short compared to the new bed. However, it wasn't just the bed that felt out of place. The air conditioners and humidifiers were the same. For Qin Mo, once he had saved enough money, he would build a new house. Wouldn't that be a perfect match? During this time, a series of notifications echoed in Qin Mo's mind. Chapter 65, is it finally opening? Ding. The host rewards the villagers by preparing living supplies for Qin Fugua, earning a system reward of 60,000 cash. Ding. The host rewards the villagers by replacing Qin Huai's bed with a new one, earning a reward of a 96 square meter small 3-bedroom apartment in Donyang. Ding. The host gives back to the villagers. What is a bountiful harvest? This is the true harvest. Qin Mo has brought back so many things. In exchange, the villagers of Qin family village are living comfortably without worries, and he also received a large number of various rewards from the system. There is no need to elaborate on the money. This time, just the monetary rewards, Qin Mo roughly estimated, amount to at least 5 million. He only spent a little money. The system rewards alone are 5 million. This deal is truly profitable. Of course, he only estimated roughly because Chin Mo himself didn't know exactly how much money he had in his account. He just had a general idea. After all, the system frequently gives cash rewards, sometimes adding 30,000, sometimes adding 50,000, and in the blink of an eye, there's another 100,000. He certainly couldn't remember every time. So, Chin Mo could only have a rough estimate. Who would have thought there would come a day like this? Not even knowing how much money one has. Thinking back to when he first went out to work, he had to split a coin in half to spend. Now, it's great. He has so much money he can't keep track. With all this cash in hand, Chin Mo is very happy.